Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the VIP World Championship Round 1. I am joined by my co-host here tonight. Oh, he's over there, Mr. Salamander. Sal, wonderful to have you in the booth with me today. How excited are you to see tonight's races?
I tell you, man, I don't think I could be more excited. There's been so much build up to this happening, and going through all those pre-qualifying rounds and seeing the speed of the drivers and the talent we have here. I am beyond excited to get this underway. So happy to be here. Really looking forward to the racing today for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen some incredible racing, and it was just qualifying. We haven't even run a full race yet. We just got to see some of the teams out on track, running together. Really, really fun strategy to watch with these guys. There is never going to be a dull moment throughout this season. I think it's a fantastic season that is being put on here. Sal, what do you think we're expecting for tonight's races?
Well, I mean, raw speed for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here at Interlagos. We'll go over that later, but I mean, we've got like the two fastest drivers in qualifying are tonight in Division One, and then we have the fastest Division Two driver is also tonight in Kelso. So really looking forward to seeing how these guys perform, how the teamwork works together. We talked about that throughout pre-qualifying and watching these guys try to, you know, slipstream off each other and stuff like that. Not as much of an opportunity for that as at Interlagos, but still plenty of opportunity for teamwork. And this being, I know that they've really tried to put this together as a team-based league. So seeing how that unfolds, that's something I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing exactly how all that plays out.
Yeah, really very cool. I mean, we've got at least two drivers from every team in each race. There are some teams that will have four drivers represented in different races. So you're going to see a really interesting team dynamic throughout these races, which that's not something we're used to, with a lot of the other leagues that we've seen and worked through. It's every man for himself. And, there may be some friendships out there. There may be some, alliances, but never an actual structured team.
Right. I mean, even in like IRO, which is a team-based league, there's only like one driver out on track, and you do driver swaps and stuff like that. Now, like you
Hmm.
said, there might be multiple teams being fielded by the same organization. Sector 7, for example, may have two sets of drivers out at once, but it's a frenemies kind of situation. They're
Right.
not supposed to be working together. So, here where there's some real teamwork going on, I think is what's going to make this league really unique, aside from the fact that the different themes to the different events. This first event, I believe we've got it set up as a fairly basic, just figure out what your speed is. But each event going forward, I think there's new curveballs being thrown at us, and we'll discuss those as we get into the future rounds. And I don't know. I think every week is going to be something new, something exciting,
Yeah.
and I, I can't say it enough. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah. Not even to mention the fantasy dynamic that we've got. That's
Yeah,
also very, very fun to be a part of. I've got a good fantasy team. I know you do as well. So we'll obviously be rooting for our guys out there. Before we move on to anything too far too fast, let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, again, thank you guys all for joining us. We are here representing Upshift Media and partnering with the VIP World Championship to bring this to you, bring it into your home. You will see a QR code pop up down in the bottom corner there throughout tonight's. I think it's right over there throughout tonight's show. If you'd like to make a donation to Upshift Media, we would love to have your support there. We're just getting started, so every little bit is helpful for us. Keep that in mind. I see a lot of people in the chat already, so thank you guys all for joining us. We appreciate everybody's support. Sal, anything you want to add that maybe I'm forgetting?
I know that we're live casting on two different YouTube channels. So if you're on the McNaughty Gaming channel, thanks for stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe. while you're there. But they do have pinned in the chat a link over to the Upshift Media Studios channel, which is our main broadcast site. So definitely come on over there. Once you arrive, please remember to like and subscribe there as well. We plan to be doing, I mean, we're going to be doing the entirety of the VIP League, and we plan to be doing more leagues in the future. So we hope to be your home for all things sim racing in the future.
100% more to come on that. Now we have a little bit of a special guest that we're going to have join us here. We've got our league director with Left to Pass You. Left, are you there with us? Can you hear us tonight?
Hey Slomo, hey Sal, how you guys doing?
Hey, Left.
Hey, Left. Great to have you. Thank you for joining us. What an honor to be here. We say it all the time, and I don't want to make light of it. It truly is such an honor to be on the stream here and representing you guys and Upshift Media. You got your driver card there as we kind of talk through. Such a cool league. We've touched on some of the points as far as some of the different things that are the dynamics, if you will, that are really going to make this a one of a kind type of a league. Tell us a little bit about some of the things you're most looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so pumped for this entire league. I'm looking forward to almost every single round. Every single round is going to have a completely new experience. It's going to have a completely new vibe. It's going to play to different people's strengths and different techniques and tactics. It's going to be great. The most one I'm looking forward to is one of the grand final races. It's an elimination race. It's on the Nürburgring, and it's like a race you've never seen before. It has so many elements thrown into it that it's gonna be, I'm betting, one of the most exciting sporting events you'll see. So I'm very pumped for that. But the rest of the season is gonna be absolutely entertaining as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's two really good websites that people need to make sure and stop by and check out. Motorsportsleagues.com. Am I getting that one correct? And then
Yeah,
Motorsport
absolutely.
Leagues Fantasy. I've got it saved, so forgive me if I'm messing up the fantasy one. It's in my bookmarks, but
No,
both
you're
of
good.
those are great places to pop yourself in, take a look at where these drivers are standing, where they qualified. On the fantasy side, are they going to be able to see everybody's fantasy teams on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go on motorsportleagues.com, which is our league management platform, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the VIP leagues page, and you'll also see VIPfantasy.com. Sorry, motorsportleaguesfantasy.com, and you'll also see the motorsportleaguesdrivers.com, which is a unique driver rating for drivers as they participate in sim racing leagues. So on one hand, for the viewers, we have a fantasy league where they can watch these drivers and pick them and play as their manager. And on the other hand, we have something for the drivers to chase their own numbers. So regardless of how their teammates do, how their tactics strategy works out in the long run, their performance against the strength of the field of the races that they're participating in is going to affect a league rating number. So the viewers and the drivers all have something to play for, something to be engaged and entertained by throughout this entire season.
Yeah, I will say, I know that we kind of trialed the fantasy league during the last NRL season, and that was a lot of fun. I had a team in there. I've got a team in this one, so I love the whole idea of having the fantasy league and the individual driver ratings that are all based on this league and how that all plays out, what they're worth, and all that sort of business. So I'd highly encourage anybody out there to get involved in that. Just like any other fantasy football and all that stuff, gets you a little more engaged, gives you another reason to, root for your favorite driver and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the main aspects. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it is rooting for your favorite driver. I want to make sure that people aren't just seeing a bunch of cars driving around, because I feel like that was what my experience was with motorsport. I'm just seeing a bunch of cars with sponsored brand company logos driving around, and why should I care? So when shows like Drive to Survive and other things came out, it allowed me to understand the driver, know a little bit about the driver, and be a bit more interested in the races, be interested in the little wins, be interested in the mid pack, the back marker, all the battles that is happening, and have a little more investment in the sporting event that I'm watching. So I want to have the same thing over here. We see some of these drivers in other leagues, and we're fascinated by them. We call them aliens. We are scared to go on track with them. We love watching them race. We want to learn from them. So why should they not be popular in some way outside of daily races and World Series? So we have a beautiful community of drivers that you constantly see in other championships, other leagues, and I want to make them have fans. I want to make them a bit more popular. I want to show people what they're worth and how much entertainment they bring by watching them. And because it's fascinating, some of these guys are absolutely a joy to watch. What they do on track is absolutely magic, and I want people to experience that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, being involved in other leagues, there's been so many times where a new driver comes in out of nowhere. You have no idea what their skill set is, and they blow you away. I mean, Jorge was somebody who showed up at PHG one day, and we're like, and all of a sudden he's become, one of the fastest guys around as far as the PHG World Series. He's won, NRL in 2 seasons. So, excited to learn what some of the other super fast drivers. I understand we've got what, two like World Tour level drivers in the league here who, I mean, I didn't know who they were personally, so I'm really excited to see what they do and how the aliens from our other leagues kind of stack up with them.
Exactly. Yeah. This is kind of bringing in, drivers from all different aspects, and that's what I'm very happy and proud of. What this league has become. It is a combination of daily race drivers. It's a combination of league racers. It's a combination of some World Series drivers. I think we have three of them, in this, and now we get to see, how these people perform in a multitude of different variety of races, from something as basic as this race that we're going to see today, which is just about a single tire strategy and just making no mistakes at all, and just kind of proving to everybody in this league what your pace is capable of, to some of the teamwork and some of the other curveballs that are being thrown at you throughout the rest of the league. So we'll get to see these drivers get challenged in loads of environments, which I'm very excited for.
yeah.
Now,
You had mentioned some of the curveballs that these guys are going to have, and forgive me, I don't have the website up right in front of me, but are they called power ups, or I forget exactly how
Yeah.
you categorize them. Do you want to talk about those a little bit for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. They're another aspect thrown in to make this more like a little game show, to add a bit more off-track strategy. Once you're done practicing, once you're done racing, like there's still something to think about. I want people to be a little bit obsessed about the points that they're chasing, and see how they can maximize their overall championship rather than just one race. So there are 4 power-ups that I've added for teams to use, and they are free pull, which allows a single driver in your team to start at the front regardless of their qualifying position. There is double points, which you basically gamble and choose which round you think your team is going to do the best at. So you have to really know your team, and get double the points for that one specific round. If you make a bad decision and your team does pretty bad, you've kind of wasted a power up there. Then we have catch up, which is for the 2 team endurance races, where if one of your drivers has an accident or disconnected, their huge time loss will not affect your entire team's score, because in a team endurance race, everyone's the all 4 drivers' times are added up together. And finally, we have something a little bit fun called banana peel, which basically allows a team to throw a banana peel at a driver, them a 10-second penalty on any single race. And that is, to use strategically on drivers that you want to overtake in the championship, on aliens that are just running away with the championship, just to have a little bit of fun, just to add a little bit of whimsy to the entire experience. So pretty excited for those, and seeing how creative people can get using these power-ups.
Okay. Well, we are gonna have to left. We're gonna let you step aside for just a bit, so we can get ready for these races here. Thank you so much for joining us in the booth tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work I know you've put in to get this prepared for us. Sit back and enjoy the show tonight. This is going to be a banger of a race. So we will get to it. Get back to you guys here in just a few minutes. Right. So we are going to tell you guys a little bit about tonight's race. For our round one, we are going to check out a little bit of South America track, the proving ground, if you will, for round one. Sal, do you want to tell us a little bit about the track?
Yeah, so Division II, this first race is going to be at Interlagos. We start off with a 10-minute qualifier followed by an 18-lap race. The drivers get to choose between two different Group 4 cars, either the Ferrari 458 Italia or the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport. So interesting combo. It'd be really interesting to see which cars each of the teams choose and how well they fit into their team's strategy and talent pool.
Yep, both great cars to choose, if you ask my opinion. So let's take a look at who we have on the grid here for our Division Two drivers. We have also representing Velocity of Hunter, uh, Florinata representing the Black Flag Media, Crew Loeb representing the Dented Doors, Ace GT, who is representing Skill Issue Racing Team. Then you have MK3TT representing Wheelhouse Racing. U for Los Matadores. Z28 on the Infinite Octane and Friends duo. I think. Dumpty for Velocity of Hunter. Then, I guess I should have gone left or right. My apologies. Uh, Loser Unicorn 12, Black Flag Media. Des J for the Dented Doors. Fishtail for Skill Issue Racing. Slow GTO for Wheelhouse Racing. The ADJ for Infinite Octane and Friends. And Augie the Squirrel also with Infinite Octane and Friends do.
Yeah, and the second driver for a skill issue, that was Laser Unicorn, not Loser Unicorn. We don't
Oh
want to
my
get in
goodness.
trouble.
I am
Don't want to
so
get in
sorry.
trouble with any of the
Laser,
drivers right off the bat.
Laser, I know I didn't put you on a fantasy team, but I don't mean that. that was me misreading. My apologies, sir.
No,
Good
so I
catch,
mean
Sal. Thank
that's
you.
yeah, I mean that's going to be our lineup for today. You know, really excited to get the qualifying underway. Again, we got a 10-minute qualifier to see how these teams stack up. You know, as you saw, there's a lot of like two-car teams out there, so a chance for guys to work together either to block some of the other drivers or to be able to use that slipstream on the front straight. There is a significant front straight, but that's about the only place where the slipstream is really
Right.
going to be effective. So, you know, kind of, you know, we'll see how all this teamwork stuff goes. But I mean, we are about to get started. I mean, round one is about to be underway. Uh, you know, the nerves are up there. I'm anxious for this to get going.
I am too. I mean, it's a track we're all very familiar with. You know, if you've driven in Gran Turismo, you have driven at this track most likely. The cars again are two very good vehicles to choose from. You know, the drivers kind of get free roam here. There is no tire requirement. There's no requirement for pit strategy. So, you know, you give them a little bit of room to get out there and do what they do best.
Yep, absolutely. And as we see Q leading the charge going around the track, we've got our different driver cards here. You'll see that Q is listed as being 10th in the drivers championship and 3rd in the team championship. That is just representative of the driver and team's qualifying position through the pre-qualifiers. Since we haven't done a round yet, there are no points. So again, that is just representative of how their pre-qualifying efforts went. So
Yeah,
Q
Sal, I
up
guess
most.
we should have asked if there were any power ups that were used in the first race.
I believe all of those are done in secret. I believe all the power-ups we find out after the race is done. So drivers don't know if they're being affected. They have to give those power-ups to the league director ahead of time, and then all that gets revealed offline, probably in the Discord, once the race is completed to see like who got double points, who had a banana peel used on them, all that kind of stuff. So nobody knows what's happening to them while they're racing. They're just out here trying to put on the show, trying to get the best result they can.
It's such a cool dynamic to see in a league like this. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a long week for these guys. There's a lot of good racing that they're going to be putting in as we ride along board with Z28 at the moment, who is just now starting his hot lap.
Yeah, I do believe Z28 was a late addition to the Infinite Octane and Friends team. I think he just got added very recently. So, but if anybody's been watching, you know, the YouTube streams, a lot of people are familiar with Z28, knowing he is quite the fast driver, as his card shows. 99th in the Drivers' Championship only because he did not partake in the pre-qualifying. He was added to the team after the pre-qualifying was already done, which is allowed. There are driver swaps. Teams can have more than 4 drivers on the team. They just have to field 4 drivers for each round. So that's what's going on with that team for round 1. They brought in a ringer.
They certainly have, and looks like he took a little pit stop there to get himself a little bit of free air as we jump on board with S7R's Florida. Am I saying that one right?
Florinota.
Florinoda. I got to get new glasses. I'm sorry.
And Florinota is a recent addition to Sector 7 racing. So as I was talking in the pre-race, you know, there's these drivers that kind of come out of nowhere, and Florinota just kind of showed up in the PHG World Series. I think he's you know participated in some other stuff, caught the eyes of Sector 7 racing, and they brought him on the team. So congrats to Florinota for becoming part of Sector 7.
We're starting to see some of the qualifying times come through as you see Hugh with a 139.308 currently leading the group, with Florinota not far behind. Laser Unicorn is currently sitting in P3. And you can see that grid shuffle around as these guys are coming through on their first hot lap. So there is going to be quite a bit of movement until these guys have all gotten their first hot laps done.
So I'm really interested to see. Kelso has been sitting in the pits the whole time. Kelso was the fastest of the Division II qualifiers. Unfortunately, his team did not make Division I. I believe he qualified 5th overall amongst all drivers. I wonder if he's going to do a last to first kind of challenge in round one here. That would be exciting.
That would be. I mean, we've seen some folks do that in other leagues, and it is always one of those things that gives you a little bit something extra to watch for. So that's always fun to see if that's what he is truly doing.
It looks like he is out on track now, so maybe he was just waiting things out. But I understand he may, I believe he is one of our former World Tour drivers. So, you know, big expectations. Probably the favorite for this particular round, but for this round in this division on this day. As a reminder to everybody, we have both Thursday races and Saturday races. So all the drivers we're seeing today in Division 1 and Division 2 are just half the field. We got a whole nother set of drivers to run these races again on Saturday.
Time starts to shift around. Not a whole lot of changes up in the top three. You see VIP Ace as we ride along board with him is currently sitting in P4. He's about 3/10 off the lead and has gone ahead and reset into the pit. Maybe he doesn't like us riding aboard.
May have messed
He's
up
trying
that
to
first
avoid
chicane.
them. He's avoiding that announcer's curse.
Yeah, that very well could be it. But yeah, Q at the top of the chart with the 39.308. Q, quite familiar with, again, from the PHG World Series. Fast driver, fun guy. Got to talk to him quite a bit. So, you know, as we talked about before, there's quite a few drivers in here I've never heard of before. So I'm really anxious to kind of get to know them as far as how well they drive and, you know, if they make it into, you know, well, actually, no, podium positions we will interview out of Division 1, not Division 2, but still kind of get to know how these guys operate and what to look forward to. I need to get the heads up on, you know, who to put on my fantasy team.
Right. That's absolutely right. You know, Sal, this track is so much of a rhythm track, right? Like you mentioned, there's really,
Yep.
you know, there are a couple straights, but you know, there's quite a bit of driving that you have to do, you know, and some of those turns can be tricky. There's a lot of opportunity to either take the inside or the outside on somebody, depending upon where you're at. So, you know, expect a lot of fun with this race tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, the track really has everything. You know, in the very beginning, you've got the chicane, you know, followed by, you know, that sweeping left and then a bit of a straightaway. And then you start getting into all those, you know, hairpins. But each of the hairpins kind of has its own unique personality to it. So, you know, getting to memorize this track, it's not very long. It's not like the Nürburgring Nordschleife or anything like that. But it still takes a little bit to understand those different dynamics to each of those corners. So, you know, it can be tricky, but it can be fun. I mean, like you said, it's rhythm. If you get into a rhythm, this track is really fun. If you are out of rhythm, it can be quite frustrating. And there we go. We see Kelso taking the lead with a 1:38.894. He did decide to put a qualifying effort in and ends up in E1 provisionally by about a half a second. So, you know, not blowing away the field, but comfortably in first place for now. We got 2 minutes left in this qualifying session to see where these guys shake out. 1 or 2 hot laps left to go for many of the drivers, so we'll see if there are any last minute surprises as they come across the line as we're on board with the AOJ. And we go get into this sweeping right-hander, which goes uphill. As you start to get towards the top, you got to be careful that the back end doesn't step out on you. But we see both the IORT drivers here, nose to tail. Oh, and Aji the Squirrel has a 1 second pen right behind. They will probably get to the start-finish line, be able to run another hot lap. But because the penalty line is on the start-finish straight, that is going to handicap them for the next hot lap, which should be the final hot lap of this particular round for that driver. So.
Yeah, as I'm looking through the field, I'm seeing a ton of Porsches. I don't know that I saw anybody in the Ferrari yet.
You know, come to think of it, I think you're right. I have seen an awful lot of Porsches. The Ferrari has been popular in many of the daily races, and the Porsche tends to get lauded a bit, so I'm surprised to see so many Porsches out there. I mean, it must just be that it works well with this particular track, at least the Group 4 variant.
And I know if Mustang Chuck's out there watching, he's cursing us right now. It's Porsche.
It's all a matter of what area of the country you're in. You
That's
know,
right.
garage, garage, roof, it's the same sort of thing. They're all still
Honest.
the same car.
That's right. And we
Ooh,
take a
there we
look
go.
there as Slow GTO ends up improving his time, getting him into that 12th position for now.
Yeah, he had a big improvement. Looked like he dropped about 1.2 seconds, if I saw that right. And Laser Unicorn here up in P3, 1/1000th of a second behind Q. So really tight qualifying here. In fact, other than Kelso in the 138s, we can see 2 through 8 all in the 139s, only 4.5 tenths off of each other. So extremely tight qualifying. This is probably going to make for some really good racing as we see some of these drivers coming out of the final turn for their
There's a
final attempt
Ferrari.
at a hot lap. Oh yeah,
So Q
Q's in
is
the
in a
Ferrari.
Ferrari. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
And he must be the anti-meta guy. I thought Z28 was always the anti-meta guy, wasn't
I believe he is most of the time, certainly.
he? Cart Des J 666 also in a Ferrari, so I think we just happen to be seeing Porsches quite a bit.
Look at these two
There we
guys,
go.
door to door.
Yeah, well, they finished their hot lap,
Yeah.
so they are cooling down, but Kelso looks to have solidified P1. Only a couple more drivers left to cross the line. You can see in that track map in the upper right, the two blue arrows coming down the front stretch towards the start finish line. Those should be the last two to finish up qualifying. We'll see if we have any surprises. It looks like F Mata improved slightly on their personal best. But there we have it. Kelso up in P1, the 138.868, the only driver to get a sub 139 in this qualifier.
Yeah, and Sal, like you said, I mean, that is a tight grid as you look down those qualifying times. I mean, that is going to set up for a really good race. I expect the elbows to be out at least a little bit for the first race here in our VIP GT World Championship tonight.
Yep, I'm certainly hoping. I mean, a lot of these guys are pretty adept at league racing. I would imagine
Mhm.
they will be doing their best not to be wrecking each other, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a little door banging, especially at a track like this, which is so tight and so
It
twisty.
is.
I mean, in real life motorsports, guys who do this professionally, they even hit each other every now and then. So there'd be no surprise there.
Yeah, I would expect more love taps than door banging, right? To that point. I mean, they'll
Yes.
definitely have to trade some paint at some point. If the other guy maybe just gets on the brakes just a touch sooner. These things do happen. It's racing, so it's going to be exciting to watch these guys battle out these laps through our first round.
Yeah, I mean, all those tight, twisty corners are, I expect to see quite a bit of too wide through the corners, maybe even a couple of around the outside passes. Those are always exciting. So,
Hmm.
with plenty of hairpins, there's plenty of opportunity to that sort of thing. I mean, again, with the fact that there's really only two straightaways, I mean, the front stretch really isn't even a straightaway, but then the short straightaway after the chicane are really the two good passing zones. But you've got the whole left rest of the track that people will probably still try to nudge their way in if at all possible.
Yeah, and let me take you through our qualifying results here. So you have Kelso there taking P1 with that 138.868. You in P2, he is in the Italia, as we mentioned, in the 139.308. Laser Unicorn in the Porsche with a 139.309. Then you have S7Rs, Laura Nada with the 139.516. VIP Ace GT, another Ferrari at the 139.627 mark. IORT Fishtail in the Ferrari at the 139.654. Augie the Squirrel in the Porsche at a 139.680. Z28 in the Porsche as well at a 139.755. Uh, Cart Des J in the Ferrari at a 139.790. MK3 double T in the Porsche at a 139.969. The AOJ in a Porsche. Then you've got F Mata in a Porsche as well. NVR Crew Love in P13 in the Italia, and Slow GTO in the Porsche, coming in P14 for the qualifying. So these guys are about ready to jump on track. I think they're just getting their patched up and helmets finalized and getting that lap belt done. So we are probably going to be on track here in just a second, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think we do have now. They do have driver and team standings to go through, but I believe those really are just placeholders at this point, where they've got just the qualifying results. But other than that, it's just a matter of waiting. You're right, for the drivers to get on the track, get this race underway. Um, no surprise seeing Kelso up on top.
Right.
That was kind of my prediction. I do have him on my fantasy team, so
I was going to
uh,
ask. Okay.
glad to see him at the top there, and nice to see that we did have a number of Ferraris in the field. I think I counted five of them. So it's not going to be a one-make race. I think that's always a league director's biggest fear, is that they put together a big combo and everybody just chooses the same car. Uh, so we are seeing some variety there. Should be an exciting race once we get this one underway.
Yeah. So, which tire strategy are you starting this race with?
I mean, do the typical, start on the lighter compound or the softer compound if you're at the front.
Front.
Start with the harder compound if you're at the back, and try to just get it out of the way. That's usually the way to go. As far as if it's like half and half through the field, or where that cutoff point is, always gets tricky. Some of these guys who know that they're kind of punching above their weight may start with the harder tire, even though they're at the front. We've seen people do that in other leagues as well. So, which usually makes for some exciting racing at least in the beginning, when some of the guys have a bit of a tire advantage and kind of keep up with them. But we'll see if that's exactly how things go. Is that the same kind of thing you would go with, Slow Mo?
Me personally, I would start on the hardest compound, almost regardless of where I'm starting in the grid. Get it out of the way, get those laps in, and then come out swinging with the softer compound towards the end of the race. Maybe not be the best strategy. That's why they call me slow. So uh, you just never know with that. But that's what I would do. I always try to get the harder compound out of the way first. That way, by the time you get to the softer compound, hopefully you've gotten your rhythm, and then you're going to run your best laps on that compound.
Yeah, I was going to say, really getting into that rhythm is part of it. And starting on the
Mhm.
harder compound allows you to just get into that rhythm. And then when you switch tires, you can just ratchet it up a little bit. It,
Right.
it always gets a little tricky if you start on a softer compound. And then once you've gotten into your rhythm and you switch to something else, you almost need to relearn the track a bit, because all of a sudden, the turning points aren't the same. The brake points aren't the same. And it's not that you're improving. It's like, why am I getting worse? Oh, because I'm on a harder compound.
Right. Right. And I believe our grid is set. I think we're just about to go to track. Here we go. Sal, why don't you take us away here for the start of the race?
Yeah, here we go. Looks like we've got slow 08 GTO, so they must have used one of their power-ups to get onto the pole, even though Kelso had finished in the pole. But they are off and running, slow up at the front, leading the pack. Kelso trying to make the move right off the bat as he slots in right behind. Oh, a little bit of contact with Laser Unicorn right behind, but they all keep it going. No real drama there. Kelso making a move right up on the inside, going through the fast left-hander, trying to win the drag race down the short little stretch that we have before the tight left-hander up ahead. He keeps it nice and tight to the inside, slow, giving him plenty of room as they enter the braking zone. Kelso late on the brakes, retakes the lead. That pole position was short-lived, but now Kelso out in front. And here they go, the rest of the drivers all being relatively tight here through the rest of the field. We don't see anybody that's fallen back too much, too wide, with Aji the Squirrel and Florinota right beside them. getting through that left-hander. Now we get into the real twisty bits. Where again, Aji the Squirrel and Florinota. It looks like Florinota now battling with Q right behind, trying to maintain his position, keep his fourth. But once again, they got, the other drivers got a little bit of a nose in their VIP Ace GT, watching it all unfold in front, hoping that somebody makes a big enough mistake that he could pick up a spot or two in the meantime. And here they are, too wide, getting into the final corner before the front stretch. Yu with a great dive on the inside, picks up a couple of spots as Florinota has picked up a 1 second pen heading onto the long front stretch. Still, all these cars are still really bunched up. Slow-mo, any surprises after lap 1 here?
I mean, the biggest surprise, I thought they were going to go too wide into that turn 3 there. That looks sketchy, and obviously Kelso had a little bit of a later break, was able to get in there, but man, these guys are running too wide in places I can barely do solo.
Yeah, here they go through the chicane. Q and Florinota. Q giving plenty of room to make sure that Florinota didn't get into him, and Florinota also doing the same as they make it through that chicane too wide, which normally does not work out. And here they are, 3 wide on the short straightaway. Z28 working his way up. Oh boy. Oh, they make it work. Holy, okay. 3 wide into 2 wide. Kart Des J picks up a couple of spots, slotting in as Aji the Squirrel had to slow down and back off a little bit. Everybody keeping it nice and safe. Ooh, a little bit of a reaction there going into the braking zone, but no contact made. And here they are.
These guys are on top of their game.
Oh my God, there's so much too wide. I figured we were going to see too wide. There's an awful lot of too wide going on here, but man, 9th, 10th, 11th, back here in the mid to backpack is where the real battles are taking place. They can't seem to quite get it down to nose to tail here.
Again, Sal, to your point, the front 3 drivers have kind of started to pull away a little bit from the pack, as you see the distance there from Laser Unicorn back to Q, and there are going to be a couple penalties that will be served. There you see Florinota serving his 1 second.
Yeah, and I saw Florinota and Q both, I had noticed, were on the racing hards. I believe the top 3 are all running on the racing mediums. So no big surprise that they are breaking away from the pack. We'll see if they tend to work together to try to continue to get a gap so that when they switch to the slower tire, they've got a big enough gap to maintain for the rest of the race. But the rest of these guys, all on the racing hards, using your strategy, just get those hard tires out of the way, and which allows them to battle. They can wear down the tire a little bit. If you use the softer compound, you can sometimes burn through it faster than you would have expected while you're battling for positions, which there is an awful lot of battling going on here in the early parts of this race.
Yeah, you bet. That's a great point. I mean, if you're going to do the battling, why not tear up the harder compound while you're doing it? And maybe by the end of the race, when you get to that softer compound, you're a little bit more spread out. So let's see if that plays out for these guys as we ride along board with MK3PP, who is trying to hunt down Fishtail here with Ace GT right ahead of him. There could be a potential 2-for-1 special if you get the good look at potential pass on Fishtail.
Yeah,
and it looks like he's trying to set up.
Yeah, he's not losing any time. He's staying right on their bumper, keeping with them. I mean, we got a pack of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different cars here, all within like a second or 2 of each other. So Z28 Gaming has made it all the way up into P5, and it looks like he's got his IORT teammate in Aji the Squirrel coming right behind him. Yep, with the penalty being served up to P4. Aji trying to get into his slipstream and go along with his teammate as they dive now into turn 1. Z28 a little bit of a defensive line, trying to maintain that position. Des J was able to slot right between the 2, keep those teammates separated. There was really no room for error there, was able to get right in between the 2 drivers. Z28 taking, again, a very defensive line, heading down into the tight left-hander here. Gets through it nicely. Des J not quite able to get up the side, and Aji the Squirrel still searching for a spot to pass to get up to his teammate. Meanwhile, Ace GT is able to keep up with this pack. We've got a really tight pack of 4 here going on. Ace GT trying to get up the inside of Aji the Squirrel. Aji goes wide. I'm not sure if he's going to catch a pen for that one. He went just over the line. And it looks like he did half a second for that one. And they are too wide behind them as well. Fishtail and IORT, but here we're going to watch this again on the replay as we see Aji trying to hold position. And yep, just crosses that line barely. But that's enough for a half-second pen.
Yeah, we've seen some 1-second pens, and here's a half-second pen. So, based on what I saw through some of the practice, I expect there to be more penalties. I'm sorry, MK3TT almost lost it there. Ended up with the half-second, got into the grass over there, and really good recovery by him to keep that car moving forward.
Yep, he's not going to be able to serve the penalty on this lap. He'll be doing it on the next lap, but I believe Aji the Squirrel served their pen. So they got brought back a little bit, may lose those other 3 that were ahead, but will now be battling with this set of cars as we're right along with IORT Fishtail, trying to stay bumped up to MK3TT, hoping that if he can stay there, once he serves that pen, it'll be a free position. To check up near the front with Laser Unicorn here, again, running on those racing mediums. Slow 06 GTO right ahead of them, and Kelso out in front. Not a huge lead. We can see there's only a 2.4-second gap between first and third. And slow 06 GTO goes wide, heading into the fast right-hander. I'm not sure if he just got on the brakes late or if he didn't get on the brakes enough, but just kind of washed out on the track. Lost quite a bit of time in a position to Laser Unicorn. Doesn't look like he picked up a penalty at all. We're going to watch the replay again.
See if we can see what happened to him here. It wasn't necessarily clear, watching from behind.
I think he just got on the brakes really late. He was trying to carry so much speed through that right-hander. You saw the brake lights didn't come on until he was already at the apex or at the tightest part of the corner. And on that one, you need to start braking a little bit earlier. You could trail brake through that corner quite a bit to try to get some added front bite. But if you carry too much speed, those front tires will just kind of slide out on you, and off the track you go. Thankfully, he did not spin it, kept it pointed in the right direction. Again, a testament to the skill of these drivers. As we go on with Ace GT and IORT Fishtail, who I believe, is sitting in P9. Q up in P8, trying to hold him off. A couple of Ferraris battling it out there. AOG back in P10 right behind them. So a pack of 3 cars there, not too far ahead. Is 7th, 6th, and 5th. So it looks like they're kind of getting broken up into like packs of 3.
And
Ace GT has picked up a half-second pen.
Yeah. That's unfortunate for him. I didn't quite see where he got that. But these guys they are pushing the limits of this track for sure.
Yeah, 6th and 7th, once again, Aji the Squirrel here, who had served a penalty not that long ago. Again, if you could just be patient through all these switchbacks and hairpins, it should be a free position. Half-second pen should allow Ace GT to kind of stay in the slipstream to pull along a little bit, which should help just a little bit when it comes to serving the pen. You can see that it's now warning the driver behind that the penalty zone is coming up. But they will lose a little bit of time to Des J, who is up in P5. Q behind them in P8, 2.7 seconds back, so they should be pretty safe from getting into the clutches of him. But 6th and 7th here are going to continue to try to work their way down the straight.
Yeah, there you see the AOJ, who's trying to hunt down Fishtail. Currently in P9.
Yep, well within the slipstream. Yep, getting through there all nice and tidy. Fishtail looked like he went a little bit wide on the first turn, but the AOJ loses the rear end trying to get out of the chicane. That is a really tricky spot, but was able to gather it up. Is going to lose a bunch of time to Fishtail. Is going to have to spend, maybe a couple of laps running him back down, if at all possible, to see if he could then once again challenged for the lead. That's always tough when you're right on somebody's bumper. You're like, I've got to stay with them, and it can cause you to overdrive your car, which appeared to be what happened in that case. But thankfully, no spin. We check on board with our leader, Kelso, still leading the pack, about a healthy and comfortable 3.4, 3.5 second lead. You can see by the driver card, as part of or after pre-qualifying, was sitting first in our Division II, was the first of our Division II qualifiers, and his team Velocity of Hunter also sitting in first place after pre-qualifying as well. Points will be awarded at the end of this race, and we should see how that changes all the standings. He's continuing to extend his lead out to about 4 seconds now. So Kelso appears to be very comfortable. I also just noticed Kelso's on the racing hard tires. So this was that strategy of he's outrunning the field on the lesser tires. So this lead could potentially get stretched out quite a bit once the softer compound goes on. But we do see Z28 all the way up to P4. I don't recall exactly where he started back in the pack, but up to P4 already seems to be quite the drive to the front for him.
Again, Sal, it looks like Laser Unicorn, Slow 06 GTO, and Z28 are all on the medium.
Okay, so that explains how Z28's been able to kind of carve his way through the field. I believe all the rest of the cars behind are all on the racing hards, but Kelso up front on the racing hards, really making it work. Here they go, start to get into all the twisty bits and those hairpins again. Z28 hunting his prey, and Slow 06 GTO, who had that bobble just a little bit ago, but still hasn't lost sight of P2. There he goes a little wide, giving Z28 an opportunity. Couldn't quite get his nose in there, but certainly has caught up. Only a 0.3 of a second gap. And now they're going to be on the long straight. Should get a good amount of slipstream if he can get a good exit. Slow 06 looks like he may have slid the rear end a bit, costing him some time. Z28 has the run. Nothing Slow 06 is going to be able to do on this. Z28 now takes P3. See if he can hold on to it. Slow 06 going to tuck in behind, maybe try to get the slipstream and slingshot back around before they get into P1. Z28 taking a defensive line as they approach the turn. They get into the braking zone. Slow 06 a little late on the brakes, but Z28 able to get in a little bit smoother. Looks like has made it through the chicane. Slow 06 not falling back too much though, still hanging on. We still got a little bit of slipstream spot here, can stay caught up, but we'll see if Z28 starts to run away once they get into the twistier section.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Slow 06 GTO is in a good spot here to be able to just, dip in behind Z28, try and follow him. Again, they're all on the mediums. They have the same compound, there's no tire difference. It seems like Slow 06 is maybe missing a couple braking points here and there that's, dropping his position. But, smart move to put him up front at the beginning and see how that plays out for him.
Yeah, here we are at just about halfway through this race. We are on lap 9 out of 18. We can see the drivers on these racing medium tires. The most worn tire is right around 50% is what I'm seeing for most of these racing medium compound tires. Obviously, the Squirrel back in 6th place. Still running on the racing mediums as well, trying to keep up with DSJ 666 at this point as they get into the final corner before the front stretch. Trying to get a good exit. Looks like SJ was able to get a slightly better exit and is starting to pull away. Audrey the Squirrel trying to tuck into that slipstream to see if they can stop the gap from growing.
What a great example of, carrying your speed through the turn and how much that will do for you. As we take a look here on board Q, I just noticed Q's on the racing hards, so that maybe explains why you've seen some of those shift in positions with him throughout the race so far. And again, we're on lap 10. So how long do you hold out before you dip into the pits and change your compound?
Well, I mean, they don't have the luxury of seeing what we're seeing, but we're seeing that the racing medium tires are wearing about halfway down after half the lap. So if, you know, knowing that, they could change over to the mediums really at any point in time now and just split this race right in two. Now that they're on lap 10, you know, these racing hard drivers, you know, they're kind of banking on, I mean, at this point, you know, for example, Q here, if he comes in, he's going to end up putting 8 laps on the racing mediums, whereas those other, I don't think we've seen anybody dive into the pits yet. So those that started on the racing mediums have already done 9 laps and are going to be completing 10 laps on that racing medium compound. Either they're just more comfortable with it, and those that are running on the hards just don't know what to expect possibly, but they're, you know, just trying to keep up. I mean, at the same time, if you're keeping up with your competition while on the lesser tire, you can just kind of ride it out until things start to change.
Little shrapnel on the track. We saw Q navigate around as he heads up the hill and towards the start finish.
Yeah, somebody must have gotten off into the grass at one point, kicking that sign out onto the track. And there we go. Slow 06 GTO is our first driver coming into the pits, getting off of those mediums after 10 laps, 43% of fuel remaining. I'm not sure they're going to have to top off on fuel at all. They'll just have to change tires. I believe Left had mentioned in the pre-race show that this first race was going to be minimal strategy, just show off your racing prowess. Just one pit stop for tires, and then they should be good to go. Z28 Gaming, as we ride on board with him in P3, hunting down Laser Unicorn 12, looking to make the move. Oh, had the run. Laser Unicorn stayed to the outside. Z28 kind of bumped his way in there, and oh, big slide by Z28 going through that corner, but able to hold on to it, and it gets the position. That looked like quite the drifting power slide there, and able to hold on to it. That's going to eat up those racing mediums. You can see, once again, that front right tire looks like it's about, what is that, 55, 60% gone? Probably starting to feel some of that deg, that tire deg at this point, but was able to get the pass done regardless.
It looks like Des J has got himself a little penalty there. I didn't quite see where he had gotten that, but that is going to definitely cost him that position to Aji the Squirrel.
Yep, Aji's still trying to catch up to P4. P4 going to have to serve a penalty here on the front stretch. That should give Aji the Squirrel the spot. Looks like it does. We should be seeing more pit stops here shortly. And there we go. Des J into the pits. Get off of the racing mediums. Put on the racing hards. Aji the Squirrel, man, look at that front right tire. That's got to be about 75% gone at this point. But doing the what is that? What's that called? The overcut, where he's staying out longer than some of the other cars in the competition. Getting through 12 laps on those racing mediums. It's always tricky trying to figure out at what point is your tire deg starting to affect your times to the point where it's the same as running the harder compound, and knowing when to make that switch over. And really the only way to do that is by putting in the practice. You know, so we're going to see how many of these guys have put in the practice and have that prediction of, you know, just what exactly their times are and what the tires can do for them.
Well, and Sal, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe a pit stop is required. So are some of these hard runners even going to change their compound?
You know, that's a good point. For some reason, I was thinking this whole time that there were 2 tires required. Maybe there's not. That some of these guys are they doing a medium run instead of others that are just doing hards to the end? I guess I forgot. On our graphic, it didn't show what the tire requirements were, so I wasn't. I guess I should have checked that on the motorsportleagues.com website, because you can always go there to get all the lobby settings to find out what it is. And yeah, really interesting. I mean, Kelso up here, God, he's now up to a 6.3 second lead.
Yeah, Sal, there is no tire or pit stop requirements.
All right, so some of these guys are likely going for a no stop strat here. I mean, Kelso, he's still got about half of his tire left. So probably looking to do a no stop. Z28 on the racing mediums. Man, that's impressive. He's got the mediums and still has some tire left. I mean, he's got 6 laps to go. Oh, I don't know. Do you think he's going to be able to make
Yeah.
those mediums last?
Boy, I think that is definitely pushing your luck if you're trying to run the mediums those full 18 laps, but it's certainly possible. I mean, maybe a little bit of traction control towards the end, try and help that degradation.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten him all the way up into P2. Now with some of these drivers that did decide to take a pit stop are going to be much faster in the second half of this race. We'll see if they're going to be able to run him down or not. S7R's Florinota was running the racing softs. I didn't even realize there was a driver on the softs. Oh, and front end damage. So Florinota had an incident there somewhere. And I believe the damage is set to heavy. So the only way to get that taken care of is to go into the pits. As we ride back on board with Kelso in P1, still comfortably with a 7-second lead, trying to manage his tires for the remaining 5 laps. Go ahead, Slow.
Yeah, I was just going to say, at this point, I can't imagine that Kelso is going to take a pit. He's got a really comfortable lead. He's in a very good position. He's got 5 laps to finish here. And I just don't see him dipping into the pits. Z28, on the other hand, hopefully, those tires don't force his hand and cause him to start losing time, as you mentioned.
Yeah, getting to the end of this race, that car is going to be quite the handful. I don't know if he is mindful of where it's at and his entire, now that he's up into P2, his entire conservation mode. I think as we were watching, Kelso was still continuing to pull away, but Slow 06 has caught up to F. Mata, has fresh racing mediums on. He was certainly able to close that gap quite a bit going through the chicane at the beginning. Looking to try to late break here through this faster left-hander, and looks to be that he's going to be able to take that position off of F. Mata without too much trouble. We go on board with F. Mata. What do their tires look like? Because it looks like Slow 06 has very fresh rubber. Yes, F. Mata on the racing hards, much more worn, but probably is going to be able to go through this race with no pit stops.
Yeah, so an interesting dynamic as you see, Slow 06 able to take the pit stop, get back on track, and start making some passes. As you said, those fresh tires here at the end of the race are probably pretty valuable for those guys. I know I would love to have a fresh set of rubber towards the end of the race to be able to keep that traction down.
Yeah, I mean, Slow 06, early on in this race, he was up there in P2 when he made that mistake and lost the position to Laser Unicorn, and now finds himself back in P9 with a lot of time to make up and not a lot of laps to do it. But Kelso here continuing to extend his lead on Z28. 4 laps to go, and those tires are hurting. I just don't know if he's going to be able to make it the whole way. What do you think, Slow-Mo? At this point in time, is it time to cut your losses and come in, get the tire, get a fresh set on, maybe go on the softs and see how many positions you can make back up?
If it was me, I certainly was. That's exactly what I'd do. But then again, you're talking about Z28. He's got tremendous skill. Maybe he's going to run one of those shaggy strats we've seen where they just run those tires completely bald.
Yeah, we saw running through the field there, Aji the Squirrel, their tires look to be the worst of the top 5 runners or so, with barely a sliver left. If Z28's able to manage them and just kind of baby the tires at the end, should be able to maintain that P2 position, but it's going to be awfully close. IORT Fishtail here in a fight with Q. Q in P7 trying to get caught up, had been in P8 for much of this race. Has gained at least 1 spot, looking to try to get some more with a good exit out of that final corner, well within the slipstream of Fishtail. He's going to have a little bit of a slingshot effect as they get to turn 1. Fishtail not going very defensive, giving Q the inside, but a slight tap, I think, caused Q to lose a little bit of that momentum. Q trying to decide where to go, decides to go on the outside. They break at about the same point. He's going to have a better angle coming into the corner. Is he able to carry more speed out of the chicane? It looks like he is not. Fishtail is able to maintain their momentum and hold on to P6 for the time being.
Yes, Alan, both of them are in the Ferrari, so really an even matchup when you're looking at those two guys. It's just going to be a matter of, who's got the better line in and out of these turns and who can maintain their speed on their exit and really get themselves going. If Fishtail can keep himself, in Q's way, like we've seen him doing, he may be just fine. One mistake though, and Q is certainly going to take that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's really part of it. You just stay in the rearview mirror of the guy in front of you, and there we
here
go.
he goes.
Got too wide. He was trying to make the turn. Oh, he's going to have to try to do the switch back here as they get through the next set of turns. They're taking different lines. I mean, that's what you have to do when you're the car behind, is you just take a slightly different line and hope that what you're doing is going to work, that you can just make it stick. Fishtail has been able to hold him off thus far. But again, if he can just kind of stay in his rear view, maybe rattle him a little bit. Hugh's got to run going into the final corner. Slight bump going into the corner. They come back out, and this is like a carbon copy of what we saw on the last round. He is tucked in right behind, only 0.3 of a second gap, with plenty of slipstream on this long straightaway. In these Group 4 cars, the downforce isn't huge, so you don't get a huge slipstream effect, but you do get some. And Q is closing that gap, but it's going to be the same kind of thing. Going to go for the wide line into the chicane. Let IORT Fishtail, he does not overrun the corner. I think that's what Q has to hope, is that one of these times that Fishtail goes a little wide. Oh, here we go. Gets a little move. He got a little bit loose, and Q was there to pounce on it. Exactly what we were talking about. Yep, just biding it, waiting for the mistake to happen, and was there when it occurred. And oh man, look at that tire from Ozzy the Squirrel. He has almost no tire left and has almost 2 full laps to go. And Q now trying to run away after getting that pass done on IORT Fishtail. But Ozzy, he's going to be out of that tire before the end of this lap even. He's going to have a whole nother lap to go with no front right tire.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a pixel over on that front right, but if anything, that's it.
Well, you can see that he must have slowed down. He was caught up to Ace GT and was just kind of letting him run away. He can take these right-handers a little more aggressively, but when it comes to these left-handers, he's really, you can see him way off the throttle.
Yeah. And
the tire's gone. It looks like there are no pixels left. This last lap is going to be a struggle. He is in P5. Let's see how many, or if he loses any positions between now and the end. Our leader, Kelso, should be on the final lap at this point. Sure enough, with a 12-second lead. So that tells me Z28 has really been nursing those tires, trying to make sure that he doesn't lose out on P2. And you can see he's got just a couple pixels left, but he does have some tire left. So different from Ozzy the Squirrel, he's probably going to be able to make it. His fuel, though, is dangerously low. I didn't think that fuel was going to be a factor in this race, but with almost a whole lap to go, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it. I wonder if he's part of that gap growing is, having to do a little bit of fuel saving. Laser Unicorn has slightly more fuel and about the same kind of tire, but not much more. These guys are going to have to be careful trying to get through these final laps, and Ozzy really just trying to nurse it around. Q closing that gap very quickly. Ozzy might lose positions to both Q and Fishtail. The way this is going,
you would almost think he would, but as we saw Q hunt down Fishtail earlier, here he goes. He is now up to the bumper of Ozzy. You get a front row view there from Ozzy's bumper.
Yeah, and especially
able to make a nice smooth
turn.
pass. Well done.
Yeah.
Get that inside line. I don't know that Ozzy the Squirrel is going to fight him on that. Let's see if Fishtail's able to get by cleanly.
We go on board with our leader. Kelso going to cross the finish line as the winner of our first VIPGT World Championship Division II race. Congratulations to Kelso. And here we go side by side with Fishtail and Ozzy the Squirrel. Ozzy just not able to get the bite coming off the corner. Z28 is out of fuel. Oh,
Wow.
Oh, up in P2, nursed the tires all the way to the end. Laser Unicorn ends up taking P2. Hugh gonna cross the line in P3. Fishtail P4. Audrey the Squirrel with the dead tires holds on to P5. Z28 continuing to lose positions. Krulov gonna come across in P6. Slow 06 gonna pass as well. Finish in P7. Oh, Z28. Oh, it looks like Ace is also out of fuel. Oh, fuel was a lot closer than we all thought. Z28 finished in P8, the AOJ P9, Des J P10,
Wow.
VIP HGT ended up finishing P11, F Mata P12, M3 Double T looks like going to come across the line in P13, and S7R's Florinota has been parked in the pits for a while. Not sure if they had an equipment failure or if something else went on, but they ended up finishing
Wow.
in P14. Drama at the end of the race. I mean, that has got to be heartbreaking for Z28.
It
He
does.
had the strat, got himself all the way up to P2 throughout most of that race, and then runs out of fuel on the final stretch. Slow Mo, can you take us through the official finishing results?
Absolutely. So you have Kelso, as you mentioned, taking our P1 position there. Laser Unicorn finishing in P2. Hugh coming in P3. IORT Fishtail coming in P4. Aji the Squirrel in P5. And VR Krulub finishing in P6. My brother from another mother there, Slow '06 GTO in P7. As we saw Z28, who had a great race, losing his fuel there at the end, ending up in P8. Then you have the AOJ finishing in P9. Des J 666 finishing in P10. VIP HGT in P11. F Mara finished in P12. MK3 Double T in P13. And Florin Noda finishing in P14 for today's Division II race. God, all the drama you could want right there. I mean, tires and fuel, and that was everything we could have asked for.
I mean, we were told that the first race was going to be relatively tame, but there was plenty of battling throughout that entire race and drama at the end. I mean, you had drivers trying to save tires, drivers trying to save fuel. You had the drivers who were just going for straight pace
Right.
and change the tires in the middle in order to try to gain some spots back. I don't think we saw anybody who took a pit stop that was able to gain enough spots back to make it worth it. It looked like the no stopper was probably the way to go.
Yeah.
But that very much could change when it comes to our Division One race because Division One is a different set of cars, which we'll go over a little bit later. But man, yeah, drama filled for sure. I mean, I was expecting this to be exciting. That was more exciting than I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, these guys put on a really good show for the first round. And again, this is Division Two. Even Division Two is full of aliens. I mean, the whole league, top to bottom, is alien status, in my opinion. So expect nothing less from what you're seeing here for the first race.
Yeah, I mean, those first few laps, there was so much too wide going on through all those corners, and they kept it clean. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't see anybody getting bumped off track. I mean, there could have been some nudges here and there, but it was certainly something that was very entertaining to watch. I mean, these guys really were putting on a show out there, and to watch some of these guys like Z28 drive all the way up through the pack, and then we saw, unfortunately, people like Slow '06 who was battling up front
right.
for quite a bit of the first half of the race. Got a little rattled when they went off track and ended up finishing back a bit. I believe they finished in what was it, P5, P6. But yeah, it's just really, really entertaining. I mean, there's just so much going on that I don't think you could have asked for a better first race to go. And we still got another one to come. Like we said, we've got Division One, which is going to be the ultra fast drivers. I mean, the drivers we just saw are were incredibly quick to start with. I mean, we saw Kelso kind of getting away at the end. I think he had a 12-second lead there on the final lap, but the other guys kept it pretty darn close. There wasn't like a big runaway victory there. So, uh, I'm kind of expecting the same thing out of the second one. I mean, slow mo. Are you expecting it to kind of be the same, or are we looking for something a little different here?
Well, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit of a different car setup, but I think that you're going to see some similar strategies. If I'm not mistaken, I think we've got a few more laps on the Division One guys as well. So I'd be shocked if anybody's able to make a no stop work on the next race here. So I think it'll be a little bit of a different dynamic. I think the pit stop is somewhat inevitable there, as we saw. The fuel is what about good for 18 laps on those the fours. So maybe this next race could have some of the same drama, but I think it's really going to be a pit stop and a strategy race, um, to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how it all unfolds for sure. But I'm excited that the top two drivers in the pre-qualifier are part of the same team. So if
Yep.
they could put down a similar qualifying effort here, it's entirely possible that they stay up front and try to run away. But I mean, we saw the qualifying times, even in pre-qualifying, were very tight. So the odds of those two actually ending up 1-2 in the qualifying is pretty slim. But it still could happen, and maybe we see some of that teamwork. We did see, Z28 and Aji, both on IORT. We saw them together for quite a bit of time,
Yep.
until they eventually started to split up. They certainly had the same strategy as far as they were both running out of tire at the end. Aji not quite able to maintain the tires as well as Z28 was, but Z28 wasn't able to manage the fuel, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I mean, a couple extra short shifts early on in the race may have been the difference. I mean, it wasn't until the back straight that he ended up running out of fuel. So he just missed it by that much.
right. I mean, again, had a phenomenal race up until the last 150 yards or so.
Okay, I think we are ready to take a quick break. Get yourself a fresh beverage and some fresh popcorn, because our next Division A race will be coming up here in the VIP GT World Championship. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We have seen a little bit of everything in our first race. Now it is time to move on to our Division One race for the VIP GT World Championship. We are in South America, and again, the proving ground here. Sal, tell us a little bit about the track.
Yeah, so for Division One, we are staying at Interlagos, and we still have a 10-minute qualifier, but this one is going to be a 30-lap race, and we are in the Group 3 variants of the Ferrari and Porsche. So we've got the new Ferrari 296 GT3 from 2023, and the brand spanking new Porsche 911 GT3R 992 from 2022. I've seen both these cars in real life at the IMSA races. They are fun ones. I was really excited to see them added to the game. That is what we are doing for this Division One race. 30 laps. It's quite a bit longer. 12 more laps to go.
Yeah, let me take you through our grid here. So we've got Super S2K with Big Pace, along with Rodrigo on Team Big Pace. Then you have Wid with S7R Titans and the Truth Serum also with S7R Titans. Wade with the Wild Cards and Bobagito also on the Wild Cards. For the Ghosts, you have Dwayne T, and then you get into RPM Bandits with Higher. Almost Podium running for Team Gotifi, along with Cyrus Nicky. Alicos for Infinite Octane and Friends, and oh, actually, all four of them here. So Alicos, Bacon Dance, Flobster, and Raptor Joe. So you got a four-man team here in this Division One race. That'll be exciting to see.
Yep, absolutely. The drivers were allowed to kind of swap some positions around that allowed for a couple of four-man teams all to be in the same race. That can either be a blessing or a curse. You've got four drivers that can work together, but that also means that while you're racing, you're potentially trying to beat three of your competitors. On one hand, if you have them 2 and 2, they could both finish first and second in two races. There's no way to do that when you have all four of them in the same race. The best you can do is first, second, third, and fourth. So we'll see strategy wise how that all works out, but really excited there. We saw a couple of one-man operations. Their three other team members will likely be on Saturday's race. So, yeah, I mean, could see a whole bunch of different strategies as far as how the teammate aspect of it plays out in this one.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about the power ups before the race with Left to Pass You, and how exciting we got to see one of them used in that first race, pushing somebody up to the first position on the starting grid. We saw tires completely bald at the end of the race. We saw some folks running out of fuel. I mean, what other drama could you potentially ask for in our first race? We're expecting pretty similar action here in the Division 1 race, don't you think, Sal?
Yeah, absolutely. And in being in Group 3 cars, this is going to be faster, but there's more laps. It'll probably end up being a slightly longer race. This time I did check the settings. It looks like all racing compound tires are
Mhm.
allowed, none are required. So I think we saw, was it Florinota had the racing softs on in the last one, but didn't finish the race. So it'll be interesting to see how that wraps up in this one. If any of the drivers decide to use the softs for that extra bit of speed or not. One thing we probably should mention is a little bit of housekeeping, the typical YouTube stuff. If you are here watching on the McNaughty Gaming channel, please remember to like and subscribe, but also click the link that's pinned in the description to send you over to the Upshift Media Studios page. That is going to be our main broadcast site. And also leave a like and subscribe over there as well. You will also see a QR code pop up every once in a while here. If you like what we're doing here at Upshift Media Studios and you wish to donate or leave us a tip, you can always scan that QR code in order to do so if the spirit moves you. We are getting ourselves just off the ground here, and we hope to be bringing you lots of league racing action, um, the entirety of the VIP racing league here, along with more leagues in the future.
Yeah, and we look forward to getting some more opportunities with some of those leagues in the future. But right now, we have got ourselves in a very exciting league to work through. And it looks like the drivers are getting ready to get their qualifying started here. So, Sal, you mentioned the Group 3 cars. How familiar are you with both of these vehicles on this particular track?
I'm definitely familiar with the Porsche, not necessarily at this track, but we run the team I'm on in the Sector Sevens Gran Turismo Sprint Championship. Our car that we run is the 911 or the 922. So I've gotten quite comfortable with that car. I've driven the Ferrari a bit, but neither one of them have I driven around such a tight, twisty track as Interlagos. Of course, when the Ferrari first came out, we had the circuit experience at Yas Marina, which was
Right.
released at the same time, which certainly has some twisty bits and some longer stretches as well. So, yeah, you got really a handle on what the handling of the car was going to be. I believe the Porsche handles a little bit better, but the Ferrari is slightly grippier. So, I mean, all in all, over the course of a lap, they're very well matched. So I'm anxious to see if we see a similar kind of split between the two cars that the drivers choose in this particular race.
Yeah, I mean, again, similar to the first race that we saw, I think both of these vehicles are very evenly matched. They both have their slight advantages, but I don't think there's any major advantage anywhere for anybody in one of the two cars. I personally love driving both of them. These both of these are vehicles that I would love to get in and drive. So these are great cars. It looks like we are getting qualifying started. Drivers are just working on their outlap still, so we won't see qualifying times showing up just for a little bit. But we're going to take a look at Super S2K as he makes his way around his first outlap or his outlap.
Yeah, Super S2K was our overall quickest qualifier of all drivers in the pre-qualifier. So really anxious to see what kind of time he's able to pull out in this race. Obviously Interlagos is quite a bit different track than Mount Panorama, where the pre-qualifying was at. So, this could be a totally different story. We'll see just how well-rounded these drivers are. And as we go on board with Rodrigo, who is Super S2K's teammate, and also the driver who is second fastest of all drivers. So this team, Big Pace, certainly has a lot of pace in them. Probably going to be the favorites in this particular one, but that is how it turned out in Division II. Kelso certainly got the win. We'll see if it is predictable in this one as well. I don't suspect it will be. I suspect Division I may be even harder fought than what we saw in Division II.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, there is, I believe, going to be a little bit more strategy that has to go into this with it being such a, it's a longer race. We saw that the fuel is good for about 18 laps for what our first guys ran. So you expect these guys are going to need some fuel. I remember seeing the fuel for the refuel speed at 2 liters a second. So not one of the slower refill rates we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get to the faster and faster drivers, there becomes naturally the times tighten up. There's only so much time you can get out of the car, and those elite drivers tend to get them very, very close. Case in point, a driver Wid, who I'm very familiar with, having watched in NRL and the PHC World Series, qualified 7th overall. So we see him in here. We look at the driver card for a higher place. Also, very fast driver. We've seen him in NRL as well, qualified 8th overall. So, we certainly expect to see some very fast times. I was surprised to see that Wid, someone who I know being so fast, way down in P7, really gets me excited for just how this race is going to turn out, that there's people just as fast or faster. And as we see, as these times are first coming in, Regalado up right currently in P1 with the 131.273. The Truth Serum coming in P2. Super S2K, who we were just on board with, had gone purple there in the first sector, so looking to try to unseat his teammate in P1.
Yeah, both of those, Regalado and Super S2K, are both on my fantasy team. So I spent big bucks to get those guys.
I had Kelso on mine, so that was one I was very much looking forward to. And I've got Wid on mine as well. So
I did too. Wid was quite the value, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, was expecting him to have qualified quite a bit higher, but again, that's because in Division I in particular, there's fewer drivers that I'm familiar with. So really anxious to see just what kind of speed these guys are able to extract out of these cars, as a number of the drivers are now going to be finishing off their second hot lap. We should see these times continue to drop. Regalado has quite the lead over P2 at this point in time, but Super S2K looks like may have had an issue on that first lap because it's down in P14, but as they cross the line, jumps up to P2, just 0.3 behind his teammate in Regalado.
Yeah, and a little shake-up. You see Bacon Dance has made his way up into P3. Flobster just jumps into P4 with Wid currently in P5 for their qualifying time. So expect that to shake up a little bit more as we get we're just about the halfway mark through qualifying. They've got a little bit more time to make some magic happen.
Yeah, and we're continuing to see these times tighten up. With the blue sector, 0.3 up on their personal best, looking to make their way up the field. We got the top 6 drivers all in a sub 132 time. And again, with over 4.5 minutes to go, that's probably 2, maybe 3 hot laps left for these drivers to try to work their way on up the field as we go on board with VIP's Cyrus Nicky GT. Cyrus Nicky being the proprietor of VIP, the Victory in Performance racing team. Quite the quick driver as well. We're racing against him a bit back in NRL Season 5, and always found myself trying to keep up and not being able to do so.
And there is a penalty out on track. I can't quite tell who that was. As we look at Cyrus Nicky, there are a couple cars ahead of him, but ultimately these guys, one thing I noticed is you look at the lap times they're putting down compared to what we saw the previous drivers do. these GT3 cars are, what, 8 seconds faster a lap, 7 seconds,
Yeah, what was it? Yeah, we had one driver
138,
in a
I thought.
high 138. So yeah,
Yeah,
about 7 seconds. And these guys aren't done. It looks like a lot of the drivers are doing the, pit near the end, get some fresh softs on, and see if they can put down one more blazingly fast lap. So we'll see if these guys come on out and do exactly that. Almost podium here, sitting in P12. Current fastest lap is 132.660. Looking to make their way on up, staying out, not going into the pits, but it looks like they already have fresh rubber on, so may have pit one lap earlier than the rest of the crew that came in for that fresh rubber. So just finishing up his out lap, and now one of the few drivers currently on a hot lap. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left to go in this qualifying. That should be 2 more laps. So all the drivers that just came out, they're going to be able to finish up their out lap and get one last hot lap in for all the marbles.
Yeah, Sal, one thing that the drivers really don't get an advantage having a team member on the track with you here on this particular track, because really there's really only 1 or 2 places that you're going to use that slip to your advantage. So really interesting to see how this team dynamic will play out once we get to the race. We saw a little bit of teamwork in the first race. Let's see if we'll see a little bit more here in the second.
Yeah, I would imagine that most of these team members are probably going to be on comms together. Some of it may just be psychological. If you've got a teammate in your rearview mirror, they're not necessarily trying to pass you. You guys can communicate over, hey, let's just go. I mean, even if you can't push each other along, you just know they're not going to be sticking their nose in there trying to get around you and slowing both of you up. So, some of it may be psychological. And then when you do get onto the straights, I mean, there's a slight advantage there, but it's probably only a couple of tenths, if that. So, but here we go. These guys are finishing up their out laps, almost podium with almost a 1/10 of a second improvement over the time that he had before.
As of right now, Sal, do you have any surprises with where people are in the grid?
Honestly, seeing Flobster up there in P2 was not one that I was expecting. Again, our 2 fastest drivers in the pre-qualifier, Regalado and Super S2K, up there at the top, but Flobster's been able to slot his way right in between, 16 1/1000ths of a second faster than Super S2K. And then Cyrus Nicky also up in P4, certainly putting in a better qualifying effort than what he did in the pre-qualifier. So, seeing Wid down in P6, in kind of the other way, I would have expected to see him up in the top 5.
Yeah.
But, all in all, not a lot of big changes, but a couple of small ones.
As the time starts ticking down here on our qualifying session, we'll see if that grid gets shaken up anymore.
I got to say, I love this livery. Boba Cheeto and the FAF team always come with the rockin' liveries. He's got the Boba Cheeto livery on as
I would love
a Rexy replica. Love it when they do that. FAF Wade with a colorful Krylon livery, not able to improve on his final lap. Almost podium as well, unable to improve. Cyrus Nicky coming to the line, no improvement there. If we look at those times on the left, all of the top 8 drivers are all in the 131s. Regalado appears to have put their fastest lap down right from the get-go. But Flobster's been able to improve quite a bit. And Super S2K also up near the top. Wid able to get himself up into the top 4, so certainly got himself a faster time right there at the end with that 131.695, improved about 3/10 on that final lap. The True Serum sitting in P8. It looks like he is still on a hot lap. These guys are just finishing up. We got Wid. Oh, Wid still got one more lap here along with the True Serum. Both are Sector 7 drivers. As they come around the final corners on the long straight through the kink here. Regalado able to improve by about a tenth to extend that lead up front. Wid not able to improve, but it looked like the True Serum knocked off about 1/100th of a second there at the end. Man, I mean, once again, really tight qualifying going on. Lots of drivers in that 131 range. Anxious to see what the tire strategy is going to be once we get them back out onto the track.
Yeah, let me take you through our qualifying positions here. So we have Regalado, who's going to be starting in P1 in the 911. Flobster starting in P2 in the 911. Then you have Super S2K in the 911. So three of those right in a row. You've got your first Ferrari there with Wid starting in P4. VIP Cyrus Nikki GT in the 911 in P5. Bacon Dance driving the Ferrari in P6. Then you have a higher place in the Porsche in P7. S7R's The True Serum coming in P8. He is also in the Porsche. And look at all those Porsches there. So you've got Bobagito in P9, Wade in P10, Raptor Joe starting in P11, Alcos in P12, and then VIP almost podium in P13. All of those drivers are in the Porsche. And then you've got Dwayne T in P14 in the Ferrari. So, really good mix between the two vehicles here. I'm really excited to see how this is going to play out and if any of these guys have got a good qualifying position with their teammate that maybe gives them an opportunity. And then the wild card, right? Does anybody use one of the power ups as we saw in the last race? Do we see anybody jump into the first grid position? Sal, what do you think? If you had a team, are you saving any of those wild cards for later on into the race?
Absolutely. To be honest, I was surprised to see somebody use it right off the get go.
Yeah,
I would, if it were me, I would be wanting to kind of just sort of save them up, figure out where my team sits as far as everybody else, so I know when to use it and who to use things
yeah.
against. That's really where we're at. Yeah, I'd be surprised. I would think Division One people might keep things in their back pocket, but we will see. I think we do have the driver and standings to look at just to
Hmm.
see where we are at as far as the pre-qualifying goes. In the drivers' championship, once again, we have our top 10 drivers and how they finished in qualifying. Jorge qualified up there in P4 is not going to be running in this round for the wild cards. So one of their top drivers is going to be out, but you can see Sector 7's Wid there in P6 and Super S2K and Rodrigo up there in first and second. As far as teams go, Big Pace, as we mentioned, had the most pace. They are up at the front, followed by RPM Bandits. Infinite Octane and Friends having a strong showing here in Division 1, followed by Sector 7's Titans. The Wild Cards, Ghosts, the VIP team, along with Team Gotifi. All those are going to get shaken up quite a bit after this
Right.
first round of competition has completed. We're about to get this second race underway, the first Division One race of the season in round one. Um, I'm surprised that the Porsches didn't do as well in the qualifying, and that the Ferraris had a stronger showing, unlike what we saw in the Group Fours. But uh, really talking about nuance there. I mean, they're all still pretty competitive, but you know, no big surprises. I mean, we saw Wid get jumped up there into P4 at the end, and then big pace up there at the front. We'll have to see again how this tire strat's going to go. We talked about what you would do, slow mo, for the last one. Do you think these Division One guys are going to handle that same? I think at the last one we saw a lot of hard tires right off the bat.
Yeah, no, it's interesting when you're talking about this level of skill. Those guys can sometimes have a different approach than what I would ever consider. So don't be surprised if you see some of these guys come out on a soft compound right off the bat and trying to get themselves away from the pack.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to do the runaway at the beginning, be able to run
Right.
like a hard compound and go faster than the guys running the mediums. But here we go. We've got the race underway already FAF Wade looks like he used one of those free wild cards to get up to the front and is leading the pack as they go around. Regalado back in P2, Flobster P3, and AMS Super S2K has worked his way up to P3 as he's battling with Flobster. A little bit of a nudge there as they went through the chicane, but now they are drag racing down this stretch before they get to the fast left-hander Cyrus Nicky up into P4. Wid trying to get the position up into P5, does get around Flobster. Flobster, who had a great qualifying effort up in P2, has found himself back in P7 already, just through the first couple of corners. What do you think about that, Slow-Mo?
Oh man, what great racing we're seeing from these guys. And I think we're going to see a lot of different position changes through these first couple laps as we did in the previous race, as they start to kind of get settled based on their tire strategies. There you go. As you look at Wade, for example, taking that racing soft right off the bat. I know I saw a couple of the drivers behind him are on mediums, so there might be an opportunity to make himself a little bit of space. As you see, he is got almost a whole second away from Regalado right behind him.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite the way to double down by going and putting yourself up on pole and then starting on the racing softs gives you the best opportunity to try to keep some clean air, run some, like time trial kind of laps, but he is being hunted by the two fastest drivers on track, Regalado and Super S2K. And here we've got a battle for P4. Wid trying to get under Cyrus Nicky. Looks like he is able to get it to work. Is he able to hold on through the rest of the chicane? Cyrus Nicky battles back and was able to get ahead just for a little bit, but Wid ends up on the inside line coming through that fast corner. VIPGTWC in tow. It looks like they're good. Oh, and Flobster's trying to work his way in. We got 3 wide again. We saw this in the last race. Is that going to work? Oh man, they made it work. Cyrus Nicky loses out on that 3 wide, ends up back in P7, but they all sorted it out and made it through there nice and clean. Oh my God, that takes some skill to get 3 wide through that kind of corner and make it out alive.
Yeah, it certainly does. And, I almost think Cyrus ended up backing out of that just for sake of it's so early in the race. It's too early to get into a really bad situation as we look at almost podium currently here in P13, trying to hunt down Wayne, who has moved his way up to P12.
Yeah, like you said, Cyrus Nicky probably backed out just to save himself from causing an incident and taking some damage. And speaking of damage, as we were on with a higher place just a minute ago, we saw he has some rear end damage. So certainly had some sort of incident there on the opening lap and is now fallen behind and trying to work his way back up. But here we go with almost podium, still within or right around a second behind VIP's Dwayne T. Trying to stay caught up to the pack, but FAF Wade continuing to hold on to P1 all the way up at the front. Tight pack all the way positions 1 through 8. P9 on a little bit of an island, then 10th, 11th, and 12th, also a really tight bunch. This is the same kind of stuff we saw in Division 2, really close racing. Not quite as much too wide through the different twisty bits as what we saw last time, but still some very good, highly skilled racing going on. Wayne T trying to make a move on Alikos, was looking to the outside, dives to the inside, goes back to the outside. Alikos just staying right in the middle of the track, trying to defend his way. He's going to have to do 27 laps of defending, but for now is able to hold Dwayne T off behind him. Alikos currently running on the racing medium tires. Super S2K also on the racing mediums, just following his teammate Regalado as they continue to stay within sight of FAF Wade, who, as we mentioned earlier, is running on those racing softs, has been able to hold on to P1, but it doesn't look like he's able to really drive away at all. Super S2K, in the slipstream of his teammate, is able to pull or put in his personal best so far, was 3/10 up. Granted, this is only lap 3, but still trying to continue their way up through the field. We can see with the track map in the upper right that the field is starting to get into a line. Everybody's tending to kind of sort themselves out as far as what their pace is. P5 and P4 with VIPGTWC and Wid still nose to tail. Wid has not been able to put any distance on VIPGTWC. I'd be curious if these two drivers are trying to work together to get caught up to the big pace teammates, or if they are battling to not see them going side by side there, but we will see as they get back out onto the front stretch after the twisty bits if they are in fact working together or not. Flobster back in P6. Remember, he started in P2, fell all the way down to P7, and has worked his way back up to P6 and is trying to recover from some of that early lap 1 issues.
Well, actually, I think Lobster started P3 after the power up, right?
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. He qualified P2, but
That's
you're right. He started in P3.
And there you see VIPGTWC, who's going to be, he's going to have his hands full holding off Lobster through.
Oh, we had somebody was at FAF Wade went around down to P6. Something happened there. Let's see what happens. He's in P1 here. Into this final hairpin going through. Oh, just gets on the pedal too much, and it brings the car almost to a stop. That is one of the slowest corners on the track. Lost 5 positions with that one mistake. Oh, that's got to be heartbreaking. He's still on the soft tire, still has plenty of wear left to go. It doesn't look like the tire multiplier is turned up too terribly high on this. Those racing softs could work. I don't know if he's going to make it 15 laps, but going like on a soft medium kind of strategy. I mean, if he's able to stretch it out for 15, that could be very good. But you know, some of these drivers on the hards maybe trying to do another no stopper. We'll have to see how that goes. But currently sitting in P6, he's got a long race left to go to see if he can get some of those spots back.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if he did a soft medium. I'm curious how long he's going to be able to hold those softs throughout this race. You'd almost expect he'd have to go soft hard, but maybe not.
Yeah, no, looking at the tire wear, I mean, they're 4 laps in, and it doesn't have significant tire wear yet. So I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see how it unfolds. The tires, as you get through the rest of the race, another 5 laps or so will really start to tell us what is going to be going on here. But as we're on with Sector 7's The Truth Serum, Sector 7, 4th in the team standings. He was the 22nd qualifier in Division 2. Currently following FAF Wade, trying to hold on to his coattails, while FAF Wade is trying to work his way back up into P5 and even further, if at all possible.
Again, we've seen the Truth Serum do very well, in previous leagues, so we know he certainly has the skill put pressure on Wade, Lobster, and the drivers ahead of him. So it looks like he's being pretty patient, if you ask my opinion. I think he maybe is trying to be mindful of his tires, maybe the fuel. It is a 30-lap race. It's early on, so now might be a good time to stay close to the people you're around and just try to keep yourself moving forward.
I just noticed Bacon Dance has front left tire damage. So certainly got into an issue there somewhere. That's going to hamper his efforts. Still sitting in P10 though. Has the wiper on, hoping for rain. But if you look at that tire wear, I mean, the tires don't look to be wearing all that much. They are 5 laps in, so we are 1/6 of the way through this race. The fuel, they're not quite down to a quarter yet. So it looks like the fuel multiplier may be very similar to Division 2, and that they can get somewhere right around 30 laps in these cars, but it may be one where you can't overdrive the car too much, and you may end up short, like what we saw some of those other drivers doing.
And there you have Regalado and Super S2K currently holding the 1-2 position, with Wid holding P3 right now. Those teammates out in front, that could be a significant advantage if you ask my opinion.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, on these long straights, they're certainly going to give each other the slipstream. But as we were talking about before, there's just sort of that mental part of it where it's like, okay, they can run together. If Super S2K gets a run, maybe he just gives his teammate a bump draft, just to kind of work their way up. They're in a very comfortable position right now. If they can manage their fuel, manage their tires. They were both running on the racing mediums, Wid also on the racing mediums. That seems to be the strategy here. VIPGTWC, though, running on the racing soft. So it looks like the FAF team, VIPGTWC and Wade, both running the racing soft compounds.
Yes, Al, I'll be really curious to see which compounds they go to, whether it's medium or hard, when they do switch. We know they can't do a no stopper on soft.
No, I think that's pretty much a no-go. But the question then is going to become is, how long can they go on softs? Typically, the mediums last about twice as long.
Right.
And with the cloud cover we're seeing here, the lower temperatures are going to help the tires last a little bit longer. If these soft runners somehow end up making these tires last for 15 laps, the medium tire runners may be trying to go onto a no-stopper.
Well, and I think you made a good point with the hard, and I don't think I saw anybody starting on the hard compound, but I guess you could very easily do a 30-lap race on hard without stopping.
Right. Yeah, that would be a no-brainer. The mediums, I have a feeling there's going to be somebody or maybe a few people that are going to try it, but I have a feeling we're going to see those tires really having to be managed those last couple of laps. So we'll see. Let me see. We're on lap 8, about a quarter of the way through this race. I don't know. Those racing mediums aren't a quarter of the way down, as we're on board with Dwayne T running on these racing mediums. Was right on the bumper of Alicos. I think he had to slow down a little bit going through that chicane. Lost a little bit of time, but also didn't want to cause an incident. Alicos up here in P11, also running on the racing mediums. Once again, we've got about a quarter tank of fuel has been used. We're about 7 1/3, 7.5 laps in. That's right on par with a 30-lap race. So these guys are going to be very low on fuel. I don't know. These medium tires are looking to wear pretty good. They're nowhere near a quarter of the way down. The second half of the tire wear, we do know, goes faster than the first half. So it's still kind of anybody's guess as far as what it's going to look like as we get towards the end of the race. But about a quarter of the way down, this has been an exciting one so far.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And as you see, Regalado and Super S2K currently holding that lead. They are not necessarily losing the pack, but they are gaining a little bit of distance between themselves and Wid, just slowly but surely.
Yeah, you could see Wid in the background, still has sights on him, and you could see VIPGTWC also right behind him. So those two still, they aren't quite close enough to be working together to try to catch those top two. But, Wid kind of in a position that he's familiar with near the front, but slightly unfamiliar in that he doesn't have, no cars in front of him. He has 2 cars in front of him. So Lobster here looks to have come back quite a bit. Back into P5, was sitting as low as P7 early on, and is not far behind Wid and VIPGTWC, so looking to make up some spots still.
And Cyrus Nicky working to hold off the True Serum here. The True Serum also has Bacon Dance behind him, so there is quite a bit of drivers back there looking to take this P6 spot off of Cyrus Nicky's hands if he were to run wide or take a little early break on any turn.
Yeah, all 4 of them are definitely relatively close together. We got a bit of a pack here. I mean, any one of them, if they make too big of a mistake, could allow one of the other drivers to pounce. And we saw Bacon Dance get quite squirrely coming out of that final corner. That might give the car behind the run. As we see Raptor Joe, he is or was closing the gap, is closing the gap. Don't think he's going to quite be caught up by the time we get into the first turn, but Bacon Dance lost a little bit of time there, getting a little squirrely. Didn't lose too much to the 2 cars in front, still have the slipstream ahead, especially on this part of the track where the little bit of the track where the slipstream is applicable. But Bacon Dance gets a 1-second penalty getting through the chicane there.
And Sal, I think you made a really good point. I mean, we're a third of the way through the race here. Look at those racing mediums. Just, they're showing moderate wear. I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary there. And obviously, these guys are probably doing as much as they can to maintain that tire throughout the early part of the race. So there might be a no stop on the medium.
I believe so. I think the racing medium is going to be a no stopper. It's a matter of whether these racing soft drivers can start working their way up and get close to the front so that when they take that pit stop and get the fresh softs on, that's going to be the thing at the very end. Those fresh soft runners are going to be quite a bit faster, but they're going to spend an awful lot of time in the pit. So if FAF Wade had not made that mistake early on and still was holding on to the lead, he
Yeah.
could be looking at, a top 5 at the end, even with a pit stop. But
Well, and that
unfortunately, taking that strategy means you have to do it mistake free.
it does, and that makes me wonder. I mentioned, does he go from the softs to the hards? Well, if he can stretch those softs out for 15 laps and then go soft soft, that could be a big difference.
Right. Yep, him and Bobagito both, although they are currently on lap 11, and we saw Bobagito's tire there
Yeah.
is a hurting unit. Making it to 15 may not happen. Um, Looks like he's really driving the wheels off that thing, trying to stay caught up. Did also notice that, Flopster got around Bobagito. Bobagito back into P5, no longer has Wid up ahead. So Bobagito must have had an incident while we were looking back on some of the other drivers. Luckily, he only lost one position. Cyrus Nicky here in P6, still leading this train of 4 cars. The Truth Serum not far behind, still stalking him. Staying in that rearview mirror, trying to get into Cyrus Nicky's head, hoping that Cyrus Nicky will make some kind of mistake and allow him to get past. The Truth Serum just being patient. We mentioned that a few laps ago, continuing to do so. And again, as we see the fuel, tire, all looking good at this point. So just getting those laps in and trying to stay within that rhythm that we talked about.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You see Cyrus Nicky seems to be doing a very good job getting his rhythm going here as he's able to get a really good exit out of that last turn. Make sure he has enough space to where the True Serum isn't going to take that slipstream and put too much pressure on him here coming into turn 1 in the chicane. As you see, Bobagito has gone into the pit, change off of that soft compound, or perhaps take another set. We will see what he comes out on track with.
Yeah, I'd imagine after only 11 laps, he's going to have to go racing mediums. I mean, he will still have a lot fresher racing mediums as we get to the end of the race, but that extra tire advantage, the big tire advantage of being on racing softs versus racing mediums is going to go away, and will have just a slight advantage on the fact that he will have less wear at the end. FAF Wade also into the pits.
So the FAF guys have an opportunity to maybe hook up as Wade, once Wade gets out of the pits, to be able to work together potentially. But they've got some catching up to do. Considering that the medium runners may not have to stop, I'll be really interested to see if that fresh set of
FAF Wade took
softs. Yeah, Wade was on the soft compound.
Yeah, so
Bobagito
with
took
only
medium.
11 laps of softs, I don't see that going for 19 more laps. I don't know if that was a mistake or if he's doing a 2-stop strat. I'm questioning that one.
Yeah, and we're back up to the front as we look at Regalado and Super S2K. And I don't see Wid in frame there, so it looks like they may have gotten a little bit of space on him. We're right on board with Wid to see if we can check out and see if the leaders, yep, they are up ahead of them on the straight.
Oh, but I think we saw a penalty up there. Super S2K has a half second. That's not going to be enough for Wid to catch up. He is 2.5 seconds back, but it is going to cause him to lose the toe from his teammate, at least temporarily, which if Super S2K has been getting some extra pace from his teammate, that could allow Wid to catch up. We'll have to see how this plays out, but a little bit of a shake-up there. We'll have to see how that goes. But no, back to Wade. I believe in the last season of NRL, there was a session where he did a double soft strat when all the other team members did not. He must be confident in that one. I don't think that worked out well then either. But I mean, with this one, with the added qualifying bonus of starting up on the pole, it could have worked out a heck of a lot better had he
Yeah.
not made that one mistake.
Yeah, I mean, you have not seen nearly as many penalties in this Division One race as we saw in the Division Two. Now, granted, it's still only 13 laps in. There's a lot of racing still to be had, but at this point in the Division Two race, we had quite a few penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. We've only seen a few. None of them have been very debilitating at all. You see DeSchuster getting a run on Cyrus Nicky going into the first turn here. Late brakes, trying to go around the outside, not able to make that work, trying to get the cutback, getting onto this left-hander. Cyrus Nicky able to hold the position for now. We had talked about DeSchuster being nice and patient, just kind of biding his time. Looked like he was starting to get to that point where he's hungry and wants to take that position. I think it was the first time we've seen him make an aggressive move. Didn't quite work out. Maybe just testing the waters to see how Cyrus Nicky will react. We'll see the next time they go into turn one if we see more of the same.
Yeah, and you'll see the field there. You know, you've got Cyrus Nicky, the True Serum, the Raptor Joe, and then back behind them is Bacon Dance. It's quite a ways back as we check out Wid, who has closed that gap on Super S2K down to just over a full second. Now it's about a second, so that could change that penalty that Super S2K. It could very much change the dynamic of what their team plan was.
Yeah, it appears that penalty affected him more than we thought it was going to. Now that they're getting onto the straight, Wid is actually slightly within that slipstream. Like you mentioned, he was about a second back. He lost about a quarter second getting onto the straight here. So that slipstream isn't really going to do much for him. But as you mentioned, he had caught up quite a bit of time in addition to what that penalty time would have been. And here we're checking out the True Serum and Cyrus Nicky once again. The Truth again going on the outside. He has more of a run this time as they head into turn one. Getting late on the brakes again, trying to do the round the outside. They are still too wide. He's able to hold on to position and he gets the position done.
Well done. What a great way to keep, he kept the pressure on him going into that chicane, and instead of, kind of yielding that, he made him go too wide.
Cyrus Nicky going to try to battle back. Oh, nope, was just peeking to the inside, decides not to go for it, tucks him behind the True Serum. Again, these mind games that the drivers play, where it's like, is he going for it or is he not going for it? And like you said, the True Serum on the last time, I think he yielded trying to get the switch back, realizing that wasn't going to work. This time he kept his foot in the gas and was able to hold it around the outside, which became the inside and allowed him to get that position back in that first chicane. Well executed pass, and that was, I mean, really that pass was at least 2 laps in the making. It might have been more, given the fact that he was just kind of hanging around in his rearview mirror. Now we check back to this other pair, Raptor Joe and Bacon Dance, relatively close together. Bacon Dance was up a little bit closer. Raptor Joe was able to put a little bit of distance on him those last couple of corners, but now as they come out of the final turn, Bacon Dance once again gets quite a bit loose in that final corner. As we see Sector 7's Wid goes into the pits.
Into the pit.
So on the medium tire, looking to try to split this race in half. The Sector 7's the True Serum. Yep, so teammates both on the same strategy. I suspect they are going to come back out on the mediums again. And once again have a lot fresher rubber at the end.
I always feel like that if you can make the no-stopper work, that is generally the preferred path.
It generally is. Especially, I mean, if the tires can just barely make it, or if you can have a little bit of extra at the end, that's typically the way to go. In this case, depending on how their tire wear, they could have maybe, if they were going to commit to a one-stop, trying to do it as like a soft medium could have been a little bit more of an advantage. But who knows how their practice went. Maybe in their practice sessions they found that doing the medium just seemed to be the best strategy. I mean, either way, splitting the race right down the middle is a solid strat.
And we're only halfway through, so it'll be very interesting to see how that tire degradation impacts the folks that maybe have not pit or are not pitting.
And Bacon Dance, once again, coming out of that final corner, gets that rear end a little bit loose, still fighting that front left tire damage. I mean, I wonder if he's going to go for the no stopper and just continue with that damage the whole time. It looks like he is. You know, now would have been the time to call an audible and be like, you know, I'm going to switch to a one stopper, get my damage repaired, and really be faster in the second half. But opting to stay out. Sector 7 Wid back in P8 was running P3 before those pit stops. Now he's got fresh rubber and a half a tank of fuel, so plenty of fuel to make it to the end now. You know, I'll be curious. In that last race, we saw some drivers run out right at the end. Like if you were driving really hard, you used up just a little too much fuel. You know, Bobagito pit and probably put in just a little bit of fuel, can now run 110% for the rest of this race. And to see just how many positions he can make up. You know, Alicos right ahead, not too far away. Bacon Dance, we know, has some damage. So hopefully should be able to catch them as well. Yeah, the tire, I mean, we're on lap 17. The tires are now over halfway gone. I mean, we're starting to see them start to wear more now that we've gotten that tire wear down. I'm starting to doubt whether or not they're actually going to make it all 30 laps. I think we're going to see the same kind of thing as we saw in Division II. The last couple laps are going to be just a couple pixels of tire or no tire for the last lap or two.
Yeah, you know, when they get down that low, it is sketchy. You see Cyrus Nicky has gone into the pits, so he's going to either get himself another set of mediums, or I don't think, I mean, could you go soft at this point, 18 laps in?
I think if his tire deg is looking decent, you know, he's going to have 13 laps left to go. It's possible. I don't know if it's the best move, but it certainly appears to be possible.
And then you
As
look
we're on board with the leader here, Regalado, again, you can see that tire wear a little more than 50%, and they have finished 17 laps, almost finished with lap 18. So tires looking good. Fuel just a little bit under half, so I think they're doing just fine on fuel as well. Super S2K hasn't quite been able to make up that gap that he lost from the penalty, 2.9 seconds off of his teammate in the leader. But Flobster sitting in P3. Flobster had such a great qualifying effort, and then that trouble on the first lap finds himself sitting in P3. Looks like a little bit more tire wear than the two leaders, maybe struggling quite a bit more at the end as Regalado and Super S2K come into the pits. Lap 18, that's going to make it 12 laps left to go. That's going to allow Flobster to inherit the lead at least temporarily. Really curious to see if those two drivers come out on softs or not.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think at this point, you almost have to. It looks like Regalado and Super S2K have chosen to go with the soft tires, as you see Wid moving himself up into P6 right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to come. Those other two drivers are going to come out just ahead of him and on the superior tire. So it's going to be a real tough mountain to climb for Wid to try to get around these two. Now, with that said, as we get to the end of the race, those softs are going to be worn quite a bit more than what Wid's mediums are going to be worn. And they might be evened out at that point. But it's a matter of how much distance are they going to put on him for the next, like, 5, 8 laps or so while we wait for the tires to wear.
Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic. You know, a worn set of soft could be a little bit more slippery than a worn set of medium.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so the top 3 runners, Flobster, Raptor Doe, Bacon Dance, all have not pitted. Regalado, Super 2K, Wid, all have pitted. I did not catch, did Alicos pit?
I don't remember seeing Alicos hit the pit. As we're talking about it, Flobster has chosen to go into the pits.
Okay, so Alicos has not pit. So all the drivers ahead, or Flobster, Raptor Joe come in. Bacon Dance continues to stay out. Interesting. Driver with some damage. Looking to try to make this last. But Regalado back up into P2. With Super S2K close behind. And Wid not too far back either in P4. So top 5 looking solid for those 3 drivers.
And I love the mix
as
of
well,
strategies.
also in P5. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're seeing vastly different strategies at this point. See, I believe Flobster just came into the pit, or just came out of the pits, also on the racing soft tires. Looks like he tried to make it a 2-to-1 ratio, 20 laps on the mediums, 10, well, actually, there'll be 11 laps on the softs. Cyrus Nicky also on the softs. We're seeing quite a bit of soft runners in this race. In the last race, everything was hards and mediums. In this race, it's all mediums and softs.
Yeah, and it seems like they've chosen, a lot of the guys have chosen the strategy that I prefer, right? Running the hardest compound first, jumping onto the soft compound towards the end of the race. You know, the other thing about that strategy is if you know how long you can push your soft, you know, you run it right to that lap and you go, okay, now let's get on it, right? So, you know, you're not running out of traction towards the end of the race. Bacon Dance has made his way into the pit as we watch Cyrus Nicky try to put some pressure on the True Serum. These two have been having some really good battles through tonight's race.
Yeah, we saw in that previous sector time that he was actually 3/1000ths of a second purple. So looking to try to set the fastest lap. Doesn't look like he's able to hold it all the way to the start-finish line, but was looking really good there for most of that first lap, trying to hunt down DeTrueSerum, who had taken that spot from him before. DeTrueSerum right now on racing medium tires, while Cyrus Nicky is running on the racing soft. So Cyrus Nicky certainly has the advantage here, at least for now. 9 laps to go. If he's gonna get this pass done, he's gonna want to get it done soon, and before his softs start to wear out. I don't know how many times in these league races we've seen the car behind with the tire advantage, and you think they're going to get it done, and they just wait too long, and then the tire starts to wear, and then they can't get the move done. So Cyrus Nicky, a bit of urgency right now, trying to get around the True Serum, and he is hounding him all over the True Serum's rear bumper.
Yeah, he closed that gap up pretty quickly as we've been watching here. And it looks like he is definitely going to put some pressure on the True Serum as they come into the twisty pits, as you call them there, Sal, getting themselves good exits. And I mean, again, you know, the True Serum being on mediums is doing a fantastic job holding off the runner, both of them on fresh tires, mediums and soft.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be in the True Serum's best interest to try to run a bit defensive, try to see if he can get Cyrus Nicky to burn up his tires a bit. I don't know if he knows that Cyrus Nicky is on softs. He certainly could have seen it as they were exiting the pits, or if he's watching the broadcast. But as you can see here, definitely taking a defensive line heading into turn 1. Cyrus Nicky going to try to do the round the outside that the True Serum did on him just a few laps before, not able to make it work, at least not on this lap. We're going to go around again, and we'll see if we see a repeat in reverse order of Cyrus Nicky trying to do the around the outside the next time. Does have a run on him going into this corner here, but again, the True Serum taking a very defensive line. Cyrus Nicky going to try to get the switchback. Is able to cut under, but isn't able to get the exit speed. The True Serum able to still hold on to that spot. We've got about 7 laps left to go. You can see Cyrus Nicky has a little bit of wear on those racing soft tires, not a lot. Certainly nothing to be worried about yet, but if 2-3 laps go by and he can't get by, he may lose that opportunity.
Yeah,
what are you going to say, Slow-Mo?
If you're on the soft compound, you almost try to make maybe an unconventional move in some of these twisty sections where you know you've got that traction either in or out of that corner and can really put some pressure on him. It just doesn't look like Cyrus Nicky's able to do that just yet. So he might have to just be patient, use that slip on the straight, and try to, you know, recreate what we saw the True Serum do to him for the previous pass.
Yep, and he has about the same gap, about 3/10 as they get onto the stretch here. Let's see if he goes outside or inside as they get to that turn 1. doesn't quite have the closing speed. The True Serum again taking a very defensive line. Cyrus Nicky popping to the outside, trying to get his nose up under there, can't quite do it, so he tucks in behind again. The True Serum just not getting rattled, staying nice and in the zone, again holding that defensive line, not letting Cyrus Nicky get underneath him. If Cyrus Nicky can get underneath him heading into the corner, he most certainly would be able to get that pass done. The Truth able to just simply hold him off, still getting enough exit speed to keep Cyrus Nicky from getting around. They get to this
Cyrus
right-hander here.
Cyrus is certainly making sure the True Serum sees him in that rear view. He is stuck to that bumper right now.
Yeah, it's amazing that they haven't had any contact, but he is right there, ready to pounce the second that the True Serum slides up and out and like misses an apex. You can see Cyrus Nicky trying to get that cut back. Yeah, that is a cool view. Here they go into the final corner. You can see the True Serum doesn't play a defensive line going into the final corner, knowing that you need as much exit speed as possible on this long straight. If he gives up the exit speed, doesn't take the optimal line through there, he's a sitting duck for this one long straightaway on the track. So smart moves by the True Serum, running a really good race here. Cyrus Nicky certainly got the pace. I think if he got around, he'd be able to drive away from it. He's just not able to get the move done.
When here on the 24th lap, if he makes that pass, how long can he hold off the medium runner then? As we look up to the front, you've got Regalado and Super S2K out there. Wid running in P3 currently, Flobster in the P4 position, VIPGTWC in P5, and then you've got True Serum and Cyrus, as we saw.
Yeah, with the True Serum having to run such a defensive line, he's certainly not gaining any time on VIPGTWC. VIPGTWC, we know, also was running on that medium compound. And FAF Wade, I'm not seeing in the top 10 at all. He had started on the softs, ran a second soft strategy.
I think he may have taken another pit stop, actually, Sal.
Second pit stop, so that's why he's behind a ways. You don't see him in the mix. But his teammate, FAF VIPGTWC, holding on to a P5. Flobster is still holding on to a P4 with Wid still in sight. Flobster running on that racing soft. Wid did the racing medium. Split this race right down the middle, so Flobster on the superior tire, but doesn't look to quite be being able to make up that time, but keeping a significant gap between himself and VIPGTWC, who's 5.8 seconds back.
Well, and this is a scene we've seen many a times, people trying to catch Wid with or without a tire advantage. It's difficult.
Right. You are not wrong. But Flobster is able to put more distance between himself and VIPGTWC, is now over 6 seconds. And it looks like that gap to Wid is coming down very slowly. Again, even if he catches him, though, by the time he does, those tires might be a bit worn, unless he can catch him a lot sooner. And as we check back in with Cyrus Nicky and the True Serum still having that battle going on. Cyrus Nicky trying to get up the inside, not quite able to get there. Just following into True Serum's wake. Desperately trying to find his way around before those tires wear, but you can see those racing softs getting down to being almost halfway worn already. He's doing all these suboptimal lines, trying to find his way around, is really burning those tires up. That's exactly what the True Serum wants him to do. Cyrus Nicky may have to settle for P7 unless he can find a way around. We saw the True Serum wiggle there a bit coming out of that final corner.
Yeah, Papa talked about it during qualifying. Sometimes loose is fast, but it looks like that may have given Cyrus Nicky a very good opportunity to put some pressure on him. Here we go. Obviously, the True Serum's going to stay inside. Cyrus goes outside. And it looks like the True Serum navigated that very well. Laid on brake and able to keep that position with Cyrus Nicky in tow.
Yes, Cyrus really needed to try to maintain that speed around the outside, which is what we saw DeTruserum do to him, but just not able to do it. DeTruserum able to just continue to hold him off. Flobster now has really caught up to Wid. When we last checked in, he was 1.5 seconds back, is now within 7/10. That superior tire seems to finally be coming into its own. Has caught his way up to Wid. Only 4 1/3 or so laps left to go to try to get this pass done, though. Has a lot of his racing soft tires left. Because he hasn't been battling with Wid this whole time. His softs are looking a lot better than Cyrus Nicky's are, who's been in that heated battle with the TrueSerum this whole time.
Yeah, and to your point, Flobster's really put himself in a good position, maintaining his tires. You know, he's got pressure on Wid at this point. You know, and we all know Wid drives very well with people behind him, but let's see if the Flobster is able to find some space or somewhere to get around.
Here we go. Goes wide there in the first corner. He made a mistake. He's able to hold on to it, but Flobster's got to run. He is right up on his bumper now. Wid went really wide into that first turn. An unconventional mistake, but now they are too wide. Flobster with the inside line for this upcoming left-hander with the superior tire. Wid tries to go late on the brakes, but is just not able to hold him off. Flobster with an excellent pass. Really got up to Wid, was able to rattle him just a little bit, caused him to make a mistake. And Flobster able to pounce on that mistake in the right place at the right time.
And back to this battle here between the TrueSerum and Cyrus Nicky. There has been no change in position, but those tires for Cyrus Nicky they've got to start feeling a little bit loose now at this point, don't you think?
Yeah, there's no change in position, and there's also no change in gap. He is still right there. With that said, Bacon Dance is not too far behind them. It looks like he may have started to catch up a bit while these two are battling with 3 1/3 or so laps left to go. He could be looking to try to get a 2-for-1 special there, but Cyrus Nicky, like you said, with those tires worn, he's still keeping up with the TrueSerum. So they're not worn to the point where they're costing him. He's still applying all sorts of pressure. And you gotta wonder, has Cyrus Nicky been holding back just a little bit? Has he been keeping just 5 to 10% in the tank and wants to make that move right at the end, or has he been trying this whole time? What do you think, Slomo?
Oh, buddy, I think he's been trying. You know, I don't think he's trying to hold too much back. You know, if anything, maybe trying to maintain his tires would be the only thing I could think of. And based on what we've seen, I think he's doing everything he can to try to get that P6 away from the cruiser.
I agree. It was a bit of a Hail Mary thought, but with that said, I mean, Lobster now looking to keep himself in P3, has some distance between him and Wid. 8 seconds, though, between him and Super S2K. So first and second place look to be pretty locked up with only 2 laps left to go, barring any major incidents and any fuel shortages. But Lobster trying to get just far enough ahead to get out of that slipstream. He is up 0.9 seconds, so Wid is still sniffing at that slipstream a little bit as they get onto the long straight, but it's not going to help an awful lot. They're looking for the exit speed. Looks like they exited right about the same. And there we go, Bacon Dance. Yeah. Yep, Bacon Dance catching up as we see the lights come on. It's getting to be nighttime. Oh, Bacon Dance right up on Cyrus Nicky. I think Cyrus Nicky might have bobbled a bit in that final corner. He's been spending all this time trying to get past the TrueSerum. Now he may have to play a little bit of defense on Bacon Dance. Bacon Dance also on the racing softs, but remember, he has that front left tire damage. So Bacon Dance did go into the pits because he has racing softs on. He was on racing mediums before, but opted not to fix the tire. Curious. You can see back on lap 20, his lap time, 1:53, must have been when he pitted.
And I think that's a bold strategy not to fix that damage, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you save a couple of seconds in the pits, but how much time does it cost you on the track? I mean, Case in point, he's caught up to Cyrus Nicky, so he seems to be confident that that front left tire isn't costing him too much time. Cyrus Nicky now, again, has gone from having to race looking out his windshield to race looking in his rearview mirror. It's Bacon Dance. They're going to have, once they get to the line, one lap left to go. We are already at the end of this race. There has been so much going on that we're already at the end of this Division I race.
Yeah, some really great battling. I mean, we could see these guys pushing each other. As you see, Bacon Dance looks like he's got the inside line coming out of that last turn, going up the straight. That should be able to secure P7 and get around Cyrus Nicky. Now the question is, can Bacon Dance catch the True Serum?
I think there's probably too much of a gap. Cyrus Nicky trying to grab that slipstream. Oh, Bacon Dance goes to the outside. Cyrus Nicky is going to have the inside, but it's going to turn to the outside. Bacon Dance trying to hold him off through the chicane, is able to get through the second corner and hold him off through the fast left-hander. Cyrus Nicky back into the slipstream for this last bit of straightaway before we get into the twisty section. Oh, this is quite the battle going on. They are both on the racing soft tires, both very low on fuel. Ferrari versus Porsche. Cyrus Nicky desperately trying to get that position back. He had been eyeing up P6 for so much of this race and is now stuck in P8, just trying to claw back to P7. Bacon Dance looks to be putting on a little bit of distance as we check on board with our leader in Regalado, who's coming to the line to take the win on this first Division I race in the VIPGT World Championship. Congratulations to Big Pace for taking positions 1 and 2 in the season opener. Lobster with a good comeback, going to finish in P3 ahead of Sector 7's Wid, crossing the line in P4. FAF Bobagito coming to the line, going to finish in P5. Sector 7 De True Serum in P7. Bacon Dance able to put a little bit of distance, finish in P7. Cyrus Nicky P8. Raptor Joe not far behind in P9. And we have a higher place coming to the line, finish off a top 10 position. Alicos finishing in P11. VIP's Dwayne T finishing in P12. FAF Wade had such a promising start. Started on pole, had the tire advantage, maintained first place for quite a while, but ends up crossing the line in P13 at the end. And then VIP almost podium, brings it home in P14.
Wow.
What a race.
Yeah.
30 laps, nobody a lap down, action the entire way through. And that battle between Cyrus Nicky and De True Serum was epic. They went back and forth. It took a while for De True Serum to get by. And then once he did, he just refused to give it up.
Yeah, and how about Bacon Dance? Doing such a good job maintaining his composure through all that, letting those guys battle. That probably gave him that opportunity to
Oh,
catch back up
absolutely.
and make that move there towards the end.
Absolutely. I mean, he's stuck with it, stuck with his game plan, and just continued to put in hot laps and got to the point where he was able to make that pass when it counted. All right, let's go through our Division I results. Slow-mo, you want to take us through it?
Happy to. So you've got our Regalado taking P1, AMS Super S2K finishing in P2, both on Slow-Mo's fantasy team. Lobster in P3. Then you've got S7R Wid taking P4. FAF Bobagito in P5. S7R The True Serum coming in P6. Bacon Dance taking P7 as we saw. Then VIP Cyrus Nicky finishing in P8. Raptor Joe coming in with that ninth position, a higher place, finishing in 10th. Alicos coming in 11th position with VIP Dwayne in 12th, FAF Wade in 13th, and VIP almost podium in 14th position.
Yeah, and almost podium, just a minute 8 behind. So,
Yeah,
much less than one lap. I mean, how many times do you see races this long where, people ultimately end up getting lapped? But here in this Division One race, I mean, these guys are all so close together. I mean, that's why we saw battling, the whole way through. I mean, this is a really tight field,
it is.
really good showing. I mean, big pace, out in first and second for pretty much the whole race. They were able to, kind of establish their position and hold on to it throughout. But right behind them, I mean, we saw battles, all the way from the beginning to the end. Flobster able to make that pass on Wid in the closing laps. Bacon Dance able to make that pass also in the closing laps. I mean, what an exciting race!
Yeah, Sal. I mean, we didn't quite have some of the same drama that we had in the first race, but we had just as exciting drama in the second race here. Great battles that we saw those guys run. Man, I mentioned it halfway through the race. So many different strategies that came into play, and they all seemed very viable. A lot of those guys did very, very well with so many different strategies out on track. So really, really fun to watch tonight.
Awesome. All right. So for those people that are out there watching and have been watching throughout the race, please remember to like and subscribe. If you're over on the McNaughty Gaming channel, like and subscribe there. Then click the link that's pinned in the chat in order to come over to the Upshift Media Studios channel, and then like and subscribe there as well. We would love to have you guys here. We see there's over 40 people watching us for this inaugural VIP GT World Championship, and what a great set of races we had. We would love to have you come back both for the rest of this season along with the future seasons that we put on going forward.
Yeah, Sal, and I think we are ready to bring in some drivers for the interviews, if I'm not mistaken here.
Yep, we have all three of our podium finishers in the booth. We've got Rodrigo, Super S2K, and Flobster. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us here in the booth.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. All good.
Yeah,
All right. So, Rodrigo, you took the win overall. Um, what a great race that you had here. What was your strategy going into this race, and did it play out the way that you expected it to?
Well, there were some variables, slightly, because I figured that Wade was gonna do a one-stop but on the medium, so he pit on lap 15. So mostly I was looking at the gap with him because I knew that he might undercut and he might get truck position, but I knew that I was far enough ahead that he might only just come out ahead of me. So yeah, I knew that I would overtake him later on with new soft tires while he was on a bit scrubbed mediums. So overall, I think that it doesn't get any better. Everything went exactly to plan, so I'm happy with that.
yeah, so much fun to watch you guys run tonight. All three of you. I mean, everybody on track really. Super S2K, I had a question for you. As you were getting through the race, you were doing really well, working as a team there, and unfortunately, you caught that half-second penalty. It set you back just a little bit. Was that without that half-second penalty? Would you have been challenging your teammate for the first place finish there?
Personally, no, I don't think so. Rod is a phenomenal Group 3 driver. He's a phenomenal driver in general, and he just drives flawlessly. He doesn't make a mistake, and I made a couple of mistakes, like maybe diving my car into the grass, messing up my exit coming out of the Senna S curves, losing traction in certain corners, and he just wasn't doing that, and he was just incredibly consistent, and that's something I don't necessarily have yet. In the early parts of the race, as I was following, I was able to kind of replicate what he was doing, but the moment I lost touch with him after the half-second penalty, that's when more mistakes
Yeah.
started to develop because you don't have that reference anymore. um, but no, overall good race, and big congrats to him and Flopster on the podium.
Absolutely. And Flopster, question for you. I mean, you had a great qualifying run. You ended up in P3, and then ended up getting, or actually you qualified in P2, but had to start in P3 because we saw FAF Wade use one of his power ups to start at the beginning. And we saw you bobble. We saw you fall back to P7 really early on. How did you manage those early incidents and be able to crawl your way all the way back up to P3? A really good finish.
Yeah, it was definitely not how I expected to start the race. I know Super S2K got up the inside of me going into turn 3, and I think there was just a lag bump that happened on my end, and so it made me go out wider than I expected. And from that point, I just kind of lost the momentum, and I knew the train was coming, so it just kind of screwed me a little bit. But I was definitely happy with some of the moves coming back through the pack. I know I went 3 wide going into turn 4 with Cyrus and someone else, and I'm like, this is gonna be interesting. But I was happy to pull off some of those moves, and I definitely practiced a lot for the strategy in this one. And I was worried after the Division 2 race, like seeing those guys do no stops on the R's. I'm like, I wonder if that's gonna be something that's going to be viable for the Division 1 race. And I was very happy to see that it wasn't, or that no one tried it, and I wasn't looking too dumb out there. But definitely happy with the P3 at the end of the day.
Yeah, excellent drive back up through the field. I mean, we were getting worried when we saw you drop
Right.
down there at the beginning, but watching you
Oh, me
drive back
too.
through and get around with there near the end, it was an excellent drive.
Yeah, very fun race, definitely.
Yeah, you mentioned something that Sal and I discussed during the broadcast. The question of, can the mediums go the whole race? It seemed like about halfway through the race that it maybe could have been viable, with the exception that you're going to be running on some pretty rough tires come the end of the race. So, I mean, through practice, did any of the three of you guys ever consider doing a no stopper for this race?
I know we had like 2 or 3 drivers try it out just to see if it was viable, and every single time it seemed okay for like the first 20 laps. Those last 10 laps, it was
Okay.
killer on those mediums.
We never quite figured out the pit delta, but we know that the hards are around 2 seconds a lap slower. When it's that, you're gonna be making up about a minute, say, no, not a minute, but say like 40 seconds on the soft by the end. So it was never into consideration. I don't think it was ever gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we never necessarily thought that just going all the way to the end, let's say even on hards or mediums, was going to be a option, just because of how fast the soft tire is, and especially when you're on the worn tire at the end compared to, like, let's say a fresh soft or a fresh medium at the end, you don't necessarily stand a chance. And you also have to play your race a lot more safe, because you can't push the tire as hard and you can't necessarily slide the car at all. So it didn't necessarily make sense to us. So that's why we did the medium soft.
Excellent. Did you guys watch the Division 2 race at all? And the follow up to that is going to be that we saw in the Division 2 race a driver use one of their power ups in order to get up to the front of the field at the beginning, and the exact same thing happened in the Division 1 race. They had FAF Wade up in the front. In Division 2, Kelso was able to get around the driver who did that very early on, but FAF Wade seemed to be able to hold on to that. Did that worry any of you that maybe that was going to end up upsetting the strategy that you'd put into place?
Actually, yeah, I almost forgot about that at the start when Wade, right? Yeah, he was ahead. I was like, wait, why am I second? I didn't qualify second, but obviously it makes sense. But the car was a bit tricky to drive the first couple corners. It slid in ways that I didn't like because cold tires. It caught me off guard a little bit. And then after half a lap, it dawned on me. I was like, okay, he's on the soft tires. So the fact that we are close to him means that like he's gonna drop off with tire when we're gonna pass him eventually. Thankfully, we didn't actually have to pass him because he, well, unfortunately, but it's we'll take it. Unfortunately, he spun. He made a mistake. But yeah, it was maybe a slight concern for a bit to be in dirty air with the tires and stuff. But I don't think it was much of a to the works, so to speak.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of what Rodrigo said. Again, off the first couple corners, Rodrigo was able to identify that he was on the soft tire. So the worry about us like not being able to pass him in the long run wasn't necessarily a worry of ours, but also just understanding that we had the pace advantage just from qualifying. Me and Rodrigo qualified 1-2, and we knew, like, again, we just have the general pace advantage. So at some point, it's just gonna kind of be inevitable unless we make our own mistakes. So at least for me, it wasn't a big worry down the race. So yeah.
Yeah, it was so much fun to watch. I mean, both races that we saw tonight were very exciting. And the league itself is just it's going to be such a dynamic league throughout the season. So, as you guys kind of look at the way the first two races have gone, does that maybe get your gears turning about which power ups you're using and when you're doing them? Do you guys have a team structure for that? Rodrigo and Super S2K. I'll start with you guys for big pace.
Okay.
You don't have to
So
give away your secrets.
no, not necessarily. No, I know, not necessarily. We thought about using the pole position one for a specific truck that I'm not gonna say, but other than that, we weren't really thinking about it at all. Like, we were just a bit. I mean, so early on in the season, run one, we're just trying to start picking up momentum and picking up a few results, maybe. So it's yeah, really, we've not thought about it much, really.
Fair enough.
Yeah, at least from my perspective, and I think as a team as well, as, like, again, as Rodrigo just said, it's still really early in the league. We want to see who has the pace, who doesn't, who's good, and what type of cars. Maybe one team is better in Group 1 or Group 2, or maybe some team is better in, let's say, certain styles of tracks. So if we can identify that, then maybe it's going to be a bit easier to figure out where we need to use the power ups and how we can use it in the most effective way. And yeah, that's pretty much how I see it.
IORT knows that big pace is the problem now. So no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I
You're
think we're
not
in the
wrong.
same boat. Yeah, I think we're in the same boat. It's still early, but I know Azrael. He's our team leader, and he I think has a good idea of which tracks we're going to be using them at. I think it's still going to end up being pretty situational with every team, like depending on how they're sitting in the championship, or if something happens in a certain race and they kind of want to mess with the team, or if they really there's a lot that could happen with these power ups. I think that's the cool part about them, is that it takes the common racing out of it. And like tonight, I was not expecting to start in P3 after qualifying P2, and I don't think a lot of people expected to drop one position down, but it adds a level of flavor to it. So I think this entire season is going to be pretty interesting with how people use the power ups.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the first league I've seen where this type of thing is being used, and it was a bit of a shock, really, whether or not how it was going to be received by people. And I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised to see two people use them in round one.
Right.
Like you guys said, I would have expected everybody to just kind of feel out the other teams, see where everybody's at before using them. But FAF Wade, I think he had a really good shot, starting at the pole, using the racing softs, and to kind of run away certainly could have gotten him further up than where he would have finished otherwise. Unfortunately, that spin, I think, just cost him. And then the two-stop strat unfortunately put him way in the back. But I think it was a viable strategy up front. And now everybody kind of sees just how much of a advantage it can give you with those small things. So, interesting to see that come out. Once again, congrats to all you guys. Especially congrats to Big Pace finishing 1-2. You guys are certainly off to a great start in Division One. Anxious to see how your teammates do on Saturday. Congrats also to Flobster for an excellent P3 finish. And it was really exciting watching you carve your way back up through the field after that early incident. I think we'll let you guys go so we can get this broadcast wrapped up. Thanks for joining us in the booth and answering our questions.
Thank you guys, and thank you for doing the broadcast. It's very cool to see it all come to fruition.
Yep,
absolutely.
Thank you guys for putting on a race. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, again, appreciate it.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right, see you guys. And there you have it, Slow-Mo. Words from our top three finishers. Excellent insights. Any surprises from what they said?
I thought it was really interesting. I wouldn't say surprised, but I thought it was interesting to hear them kind of talk about how the power ups played in. You get to the starting grid and you're going, hey, wait a second, I qualified P1. Where'd this guy come from? So I think that's a really cool dynamic. That really makes these guys, it keeps them on their toes throughout the race. And as we saw, it played out very well for quite a few laps until there was a mistake made. So that may be something we see as it goes on throughout the league. Some of these guys get themselves into that P1 position. Now you got to hold off the rest of the pack still. So these power ups are going to be very fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to see how this whole thing unfolds and all those different things that, Left to Pass You has alluded to throwing at us throughout the season. This should be a very exciting one for sure. So while everybody's here, once again, as a broken record, please remember to like and subscribe, whether you're over at the McNaughty Gaming channel or here with us at Upshift Media Studios. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If the spirit moves you, make sure to scan that QR code in the corner. We are accepting like donations and tips in order to kind of keep this thing moving and producing a high quality broadcast going forward. With that said, it's probably time for those final goodbyes and to talk about the next event. Slomo, you want to take us through what we got coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. As you see, our next event is going to be on the 23rd of July, 2026, and we are going to North America, and the theme is going to be Keep in Slip.
Oh, we forgot about Saturday.
Oh, excuse me. So,
So
yeah, next.
Saturday, we're basically doing the same thing that we just did today, but we did the next event is going to happen this Saturday, 2 days from now, on the 18th of July. Once again, it'll be the Proving Ground in South America. After that, for next week, we will be doing the next one. We'll talk about that more on Saturday night when we finish up the stuff here. So, um, you know, for me, thanks for everybody for being around. I had a great time commentating this one. I'm looking forward to being back again on Saturday. Uh, for that one, I will be behind the camera running things, but really looking forward to some great racing on Saturday. So that's a goodbye from me. Slomo, I'll let you say your goodbyes before we sign on off.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be back Saturday as well on this side of the broadcast, working with Sal. Look forward to seeing what our Division Two and One drivers bring to the table for the next races. Such a fun league to be a part of and watch. Thank you guys all for the viewers, the drivers, everybody behind the scenes. We cannot thank you guys enough.
Absolutely. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one. Come back here on Saturday. We will see you then.